right.
Welcome to Chicago, where the fire serve cold, but the Wolves and the Hawks never shiver in the snow. The Bulls keep it running, the Sox run the South, the Cubs run the North, but the Bears run the house. True Chicago sports fans got their ears to the street. Any team make a move and they never skip a beat. And in this house, this is where we be. Welcome to the show with E-Rock and Big Z.
Welcome to Chicago. Coming from the True Chicago Sports Fan Cave, this is the TCSF podcast with E-Rock and Big Z. It's that time.
Yeah, it is.
Episode 114, 114. Damn.
That's higher than I can count.
It's brought to you by 606 Media, True Chicago Sports Fans, and Grit Clothing Company. Don't forget to go to gritclothingco.com and get your official TCSF podcast t-shirts. Search for keyword True Chicago and use our promo code TrueFan15 for 15% off your entire order. That is TrueFan15. Go and get your official TCSF shirts now.
It's that Christmas season. Go and get your gifts.
Yeah, great stocking stuffers.
Everyone wants one.
Mm-hmm. As always, I'm Big Z, and I'm here with my boy E-Rock. What up, E?
What's up, Z? What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the show. If you're a first-timer or a long-timer, please remember to hit that subscribe button, that notify button, and go ahead and give us a review on your listening app of choice. You can find us on Facebook at True Chicago Fans. You can follow us on Twitter at True Chi Fans and on IG at True Chicago Sports Fans. And don't forget, you can support the show with a monthly subscription at anchor.fm/True Chicago Sports Fans. Go on over there and click on support, and you can subscribe for as low as 99 cents a month. Hey, we want to buy some Christmas gifts too, so hook us up, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Listen, do you like the show?
I do.
Are you a fan?
I am.
Then tell your friends, and they will tell their friends, and we can all be friends. If you enjoy the content, if we make you laugh or cry or yell or just think or like throw things at the TV while you're listening to us while you watch the Bears game, hey, tell your friends, tell everyone else that you're screaming about the Bears with, and we'll have fun together and, you know, enjoy the show.
There'll be a lot of screaming Tuesday.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't know, man. I think it depends because I think they're going to be still playing the rookie, what is it, Bailey Zappi, I think his name is. Yeah, that's
the next Tom Brady?
Yeah. Somehow, how has he been better than Mac Jones? I don't understand that.
It's the touch. He has the Midas touch, man.
You got to touch. How you doing, man? It's been a while.
It's been a while. I mean, I'm doing good, man. It's finally adjusting to the new job. Still learning new names and faces and every damn kid in the school.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of damn kids.
That's a lot.
Yeah. That's why I don't have any.
Imagine what Nick Cannon feels like.
Populating the whole school himself. That's
Hey.
right. And then bowling. Bowling's still going. You know, we're in the first quarter of the season, and everybody's coming for the champs, man.
That sounds very Lovey Smith-esque. We're in the first quarter of our season.
Yeah. Well, it's because you get paid out by quarters. That's how I know that lingo.
Oh.
Yeah. So I mean, everybody's coming for us, man. We lost one. We played 3 games every Tuesday. We lost the first game by 1 pin.
How dare you? How dare you desecrate that jacket?
Yeah, actually, it's pretty nice. I don't have to wear a jacket today.
It is nice.
I'm wearing shorts again. Yeah,
that is true. I think I'm going to try to write it out till Thanksgiving. I don't think it's going to work, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. Other than that, I was invited by some weirdo to go to the pitball event. Thanks for the invite. At the Logan Arcade over there in Fullerton and Western.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun. I mean, that's a really cool crew over there, Zespi and all the people that if you've ever played pinball in Chicago, you've played over at Logan. So it's a good time. We had our Stern event there for the brand new James Bond 007 game. Gary Stern himself was there. The game designer, the legendary George Gomez, was there on the live stream talking about the game. There was a little tournament for people to come and try the game. So just in general, it's a cool place. There's a lot of different pinball everywhere, up and down, especially in the back room. They have the 2 walls full of a lot of Stern games, a lot of old school games. But then you also have your section where you have a couple of console games you can play. They have the original 4-player X-Men, 4-player Simpsons, 4-player Ninja Turtles. So there's a lot of stuff that you can go in there and hang out and play, and beer, all the hipster beer you can drink.
Do you know what was the highlight of my night there, bro?
I'm thinking about it now, but I did have a couple drinks, so I don't remember.
The animatronics.
Yes. So this is the coolest thing about Logan is that they do have animatronics. I'm pretty sure it came from one of these old
Chuck E. Cheese,
Little Caesars, where they used to have the play place. But they'll dress them up during different times of the year, and they are. Last night they had them in their Halloween costumes. So and literally, it's the animatronics that you remember from being a kid in the pizza place. But they have it timed up to the Misfits, and the Misfits was that one of the band members that I met at Riot Fest, who I had no idea who it was. But the funny thing is that they have it synced up perfectly. The lighting, the way that the mouths move, and all that stuff.
The drummer had a solo. The guitarist had a solo. I was like, wow, this is insane.
It's all programmed beautifully, and that's what it is. You have good production. I mean, anything that you can do. I mean, hell, you can program that all on your computer now. But the funny thing is that while they're playing the Misfits song, these animatronic dogs, the name of the band, guess what it is?
The Misfits?
The Biscuits.
The Biscuits?
The Biscuits. It's great. It was great. And I'm like, yo, check this out, because it doesn't play all night. It just plays at certain different times during the night. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, it's a cool event. It's a cool place to go to, and it was nice to be out and be seen by the owner of the company, right? 'Cause he sees me at work, but it's like, oh, you're out at an event. The guy who designed the games, sitting there grinning ear to ear, like a proud father. So, it was a cool place to go.
Did you do anything else with balls this weekend?
Anything else with balls? There was no softball this weekend for the first time in about 10 months.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's so weird, isn't it?
You know what? My daughter still has practice, so it's funny enough because that night that I did go to Logan, I went to work. I went to work. And we had the Pinball Expo this weekend, which I'll talk about in a minute. But I left work around noon, went to go work at the Expo, which is just another one, essentially our local event, right, about pinball. So when you go to the trade shows and stuff like that, it's kind of the same concept here. So I think this is the 38th year that it's been done. It's out in Schaumburg. And at the Renaissance Convention Center. So, I mean, it's a cool event. I remember going last year. It was a little bit different, more subdued. There was a tournament area for the pinball players that was more close to where the main hall was last year. And then you didn't have that many vendors last year. So this year you had a lot of your vendors with your video games. You had your, people selling Nintendo. I met Tim Kitzrow from NBA Jam and various pinball. So I'll be keeping in touch with him.
Some people don't know that name.
He's on fire. So he's the voice of NBA Jam.
There you go. So that sounds like an interesting. But what are the vendors selling? Just T-shirts.
So the vendors are selling games. With Pinball Expo, it's a very interesting event because you have like us. We're the big dog, right? Stern Pinball has always been the big guys there, at least for the last however 20 years. Then you have like American Pinball. They have a few games that they released. You have Jersey Jack Pinball, which is kind of our direct competitor. They're literally put up their warehouse and their headquarters about a block away from us. And yeah, seriously.
Wow.
And then you have also Chicago Gaming. So the major pinball manufacturers are local here to Chicago, but you also have what's called a homebrew. And a homebrew is basically you built your own game. So you have the people that take cabinets. They take cabinets. They make code. They literally at their own expense, at their own home, they put together and they make their own pinball games and they bring them to these shows so they can kind of show off. And I've seen a couple at MGC, a couple times in the Midwest Gaming Classic. So yeah, it's just cool. It's a very it's very pinball driven because this is one of the only shows that's supposed to be like, okay, this is just about pinball versus about gaming or about consumer electronics. Because we do that show IAPA, we do a lot of these big shows for electronics and consumer electronics show. But the vendors sell pinball parts. They'll sell their shirts. They sell accessories, back glasses. Like I have a couple back glasses here that I've shown you before. Well, people use those for artwork in their home. If they have a game room, they'll put it up there. One thing that I saw was really cool was the Terminator It is a topper. So a topper is anything that will go on the back box or the head of a game. It's a Terminator topper for like a big, like an old shooting game. It was just massive. I mean, it was like like a full size of a person up there, and it was about $500. Yeah,
I know you didn't buy that.
I did not. But I mean, like that. Like if there was one thing I was like, oh, that's something that I'd love to have in my collection, and that's definitely one of those.
Would you put a life-size Terminator?
No, not Terminator. A topper.
The topper.
So it's just the shoulders and the head. You would put it on top of a video game.
Like what we saw with the Rick and Morty and the stuff on the top of the. Okay.
Yes. So that's those are toppers. Those are game toppers.
Gotcha.
So pinball, a lot of pinball games do it. We do it for almost every game. We did release and introduce our Mandalorian topper, which is interactive and has an LCD screen up top, which is pretty cool. And that's been anticipated for a while because Mando actually came out quite a while ago. Since then, we made 2 other games, including Bond, and we also made Rush. So those are a couple other ones, and Godzilla for that matter of fact. Excuse me, that's fine.
That's fine.
But yeah, I mean, so it's just one of those things, and everyone's been anticipating these toppers for a while. So the last one that was released was for Led Zeppelin, which came out right before that. So that's another cool one. But this one is actually interactive. You can see it. There's an LCD screen up there. It shows like if you're going to multi-ball mode. And again, this is based on the show Mandalorian. Remember all those spiders that come out of that one?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a multi-ball mode. So you have to kill the spiders, and all of a sudden, all your whole play field gets flooded with pinballs, and it's your multi-ball, and that's supposed to represent the spiders, right?
Yeah.
So that's the concept there. So that's why whenever you see like something like that, or they had there's the one where all the fighters are kind of clinging onto the side of the vehicle. That's another multi-ball mode, a jetpack multi-ball. So there's a lot of different little things that they put in there. But yeah, I mean that's what you see there. I mean it's a lot of pinball. I didn't get to play a lot, but I enjoyed hanging out there. Like I said, with the people from Logan Arcade, Zespi over there and his crew. Kingpin. I went over to the Kingpin booth. They are up in Wisconsin. And then Pinball Place, it's based in Minnesota, so I got to see the guys from there. And I actually got to meet a lot of distributors who I've been talking to through email and on the phone for the last couple of years and never met in person, right? And I also, Marshall from Little Shop of Games right down there in Florida, right, a stone's throw from my dad's house. And I am not kidding. I mean, they're probably about 5 minutes away. And I actually hit him up too after the hurricane. And I was like, hey, did you get hit? He goes, we're good, man. I told him I was watching weather and the news at work, and I was like, I literally called him the next day and I was like, hey, are you guys good down there? He's like, yeah, I actually went right underneath us. But here's the thing. He walked right up to me and he goes, hey, Eddie. And I'm like, who are you? I've never met you. Why do you know what I look like? You only talk through email and phone. That was like a little like, hey, who are you?
You've been stalked.
Very cool guy. I mean, like, you know what I mean? Like I've talked to him probably, 3 times a week for the past year. So,
gotcha.
But one of the funny things that did happen, so I go there on Saturday to hang out. I bring my daughter, Steve Martin, who's my buddy who got me in at Stern, right? First told me about Stern.
Right, not the comedian.
And his daughter, Mia, right? Who they play softball together. They're very good friends. So I bring the girls over there, and we're just hanging out. Steve went up because there was a conference, and speaking of his boss, who's Greg Ferris, and a guy named Zombie Yeti, who's a very famous artist in pinball world with a lot of video games and things like that. So because Steve works in the art department, he was up there watching them, give their speech, right? Or however your conference or whatever it is, So I'm over here. I show up on Saturday just to hang out, right? Like I know, we get entries, so I'm like, we'll hang out, have a couple beers, let the girls go and play games, whatever.
Right.
So I'm sitting there and I'm looking around our little backstage area, and I'm like, where the hell is everyone? So all of a sudden, one of our guys, one of the sales guys, Michael Grant, he comes down and he goes, hey, I got to get together drinks for 30 people. And I was like, what is going on? I says, where is everyone? He's like, oh, they're upstairs. I was like, okay, let's go. So I help him throw a couple more beers in the cooler. We take the cooler up there. I make sure I fill my cup. You know what I mean? So,
I mean, you can't pour it out of an empty cup,
No, absolutely not. So we get upstairs and we go to this conference room, and I don't know what's going on in there, and I just see a line of people going into this room. I'm like, what the hell is this?
It's like a Comic-Con table, right?
So I walk into this room behind Mike, and there is a long, like a big loop of tables, and like everyone that I work with that was happened to be there is sitting there, and it's an autograph line. So it starts with Gary Stern, the owner of the company. You got Seth Davis, who is the new president, and it moves on and on and on and on and on. So I'm like, well, I mean,
what am I doing here?
Right, and here's the thing. Like I said, I was just going to hang out, right? So I go at the very end. I see there's an open chair next to my friend Mark Guidarelli. We call him Guido. And he goes, "Hey, how's it going, man?" And he's one of the programmers. He does like a lot of our Insider Connect programming. Like he does a lot of the stuff that's not exactly gameplay, right?
Gotcha.
So he goes, "Hey, come on and have a seat." So I said, "Oh yeah, hey, yeah. I just came with Mike, brought the drinks up and stuff like that." He goes, "Yeah, sit right here." And then he looks at me and he hands me a marker. And I was like, "What is this for?" He goes, "If I gotta sign shit, so do you." And I was like, "Get the hell out of here." I says, "No, none of these people know who I am or want me to sign anything." And then, as they come up, he goes, "You really want his autograph? You know, this is the guy right here. Every time you have a problem, he's the one you call, this and that." So I somehow got roped, and there's a bunch of poor saps out there that have my autograph on their cool stuff.
What did you sign? Did you sign E-Rock or did you sign?
No, I didn't put E-Rock on there. I just put. It's funny enough. I just signed with my initials that I put on all the
invoices,
the orders that I send out of the stuff that I fix or whatever. So like, if they actually look at the stuff they get, they're like, "That's that asshole right there. That's who that was the whole time."
That's why it took forever.
Yeah. He was there doing all these autographs. So yeah, I mean, like it was a lot of fun. Like I said, some unexpected things that I got roped into, but I mean, overall it was a cool event. It's like I said, it's our local show to showcase not only our new games but our pinball. Like we have the red carpet, we have the stage where they do some interviews, talking with the owner of the company, with the the president of the company, and different designers that came through over the years. So I mean, thanks for coming out, and that was the official launch party at Logan that you guys were at.
That was awesome
for that game.
So the live stream setup was awesome, and then there was a guy behind a computer, and he's like checking all the stats. He's like, all right, you just jumped up 3 slots, and like, whoa, okay, wow. And they had 2 versions, right? They had the live streaming version, and they had the regular version. One's a premium and one's a regular version, right? So essentially, the thing with Logan is that there is a section of the bar that is always either online or subject to be online. So it's they have whatever games they put in that section for like a month at a time or whatever. But if you're like, hey, it's known that if you play on either of these 2 games, you might be recorded and you might be like live streamed, right? Yeah, you got to sign a disclosure, right? I mean, I think it's not a disclosure. It's like, hey, jackass, look at the sign. Like it tells you, you know what I mean? But yeah, so the Bond Premium version with the rocket, it has the rocket pack James Bond. It has the little car, the Aston Martin, where the ball comes up just like the ejector, and I forget what movie it is, where he ejects someone out of the top of the car. Well, it does that with the ball, so you can catch it. It has all the games on there, and so I mean, it was really cool. Like I said, George was beaming like a proud father. I know he's lost a lot of sleep working on this game constantly until make sure it's ready to go. And overall, once it got out there, there was everything went smoothly. Everyone enjoyed the game. People were like waiting to get onto whatever game they could get available, and it was a good time. It was a good time. It was a good turnout. No, it was jam packed. It really was, and then there was a birthday party as well going on at the same time. There was in the back. Yeah, in the back. So I was like, okay, this is kind of weird. It was somebody's 40th birthday party, but I was trying to get some cake, but they. I turned 40 a while ago. You don't give me a cake. It was also pretty cool. Like you said, there was some console games. There was a mini PlayStation 1, and I was playing Alex, my bro, and we were just fighting. And we were playing like Virtua Fighter. Is that what it was? I didn't know the name of it, but it's funny because me and him are so competitive that way, and like we would go out drinking night after night, and then come home, and then we're playing FIFA, at 5 a.m, drunk. Right. You're like, hey, and he'd like, man, how are you so good when you're drunk, but when you're sober, you suck? I'm like, because I'm not thinking about it anymore. Exactly. I'm not thinking. That's what it is. So, hey, I thank you for the invite. It's awesome. Check it out. It's a really cool place to go hang out. Not only like if you're a gaming nerd or a pinball nerd, but even just to go out and do something different. Tons of different drink options there. Lots of different beers. I mean, like I said, it's one of those things where they have leagues and stuff like that. So, and the way I kind of describe it, it's just like bowling or like a darts. Like if you go to a place that has a dart league, it's the same concept, right? Yeah. And that's the thing is that there was a big thing about pinball back in the day because they said it was gambling because you would put in a coin, and I was like, that's not gambling, it's skill. There's nothing coming out. Right. Well, I think there was some type of payout on a tournament and stuff like that. But so Roger Sharp, there's actually there's a not a documentary, but I think it's a movie that is called The Man Who Saved Pinball.
and his son actually works with us. And he was one of the top pinball players in the world. But Roger Sharp is credited as being the guy that saved pinball. You even had some of the early like 1920s pinball games at the pinball show, the expo. So it's just like I said, it's really cool to see the difference. Again, one other person I want to shout out is my guy Kyle from Marco Specialties. Whenever I have a problem, if he's around, he's always jumping in, ready to give a helping hand. Like, hey, let's figure this out. He's just a good dude, and I just want to give him a shout out because I think you met him too. The
tall
Kyle,
guy,
the super tall guy. Yeah.
Oh, so I brought a tall guy, and you brought a tall guy.
Yeah. So we're just standing there, and so the funny thing is I told Kyle you're so fucking tall that every time I walk next to you, I feel like I'm like walking next to my dad or something, and you're a little kid. Like, I don't know if I should reach up and hold your hand or like, you know what I mean? It's like it looks like me walking with one of my daughters down the street, except my oldest is gonna be taller than me soon.
Yeah, I think being that tall is not really a good thing for pinball playing.
I'll tell you something funny enough is that I don't know if you remember this name, but Todd McCullough, who used to play on the Sixers, he was actually on the team that went to the finals with Iverson.
Okay.
Big tall white guy. He's a big pinball guy, and he lives in the Pacific Northwest. And last year, I needed a technician in that area, and because he's the guy that's known for pinball up there, I had his number from he called in for service once, and I was like, hey, Todd, I need a tech up there. I can't find anyone. There's just no one. It's such a weird little island up there. It's called like Paul's Bow. It's a little island right up there in the Pacific Northwest off of near Seattle. And I says, I just really don't have anyone. He's like, call this guy. He's the best, this and that. So then he gave me the information. He was a really good tech. I added him to our database of technicians, and I saw him last year. But he's getting older, and he has a lot of problems with his legs now, so he has to sit down a lot. And he's so damn tall. Mm-hmm. And I mean, this is a 7-footer, right? Yeah. Like a legit 7-footer. Like, you talking about standing next to your dad. Like, I had to like go get some. I had to get a neck massage after like standing there and talking to this guy for a couple minutes because my neck was just crooked. It was like it's like sitting in the front row of a movie theater.
Oh yeah, that's the worst. It's the worst.
And but no, I literally walked up to him. I saw him last year. I says, hey, thank you for finding that tech for me. This is who I am, so on and so forth. When I saw him yesterday, I went up to him and I was like, hey, I don't know if you remember me. And I started talking about like, him meeting a tech. And he was like, oh yeah. And he remembered the name of the town. He remembered the tech. He remembered our conversation. So it was really cool to kind of, like I said, like you're kind of rubbing elbows with like, C-list celebrities. Mm-hmm. That's what it is. But I mean, like I said, it's a fun environment to be around, and just like I said, see creative people being creative. And one thing I will say about like especially what we do as far as like technicians, engineering, things like that, like everyone is just like their own different type of nerd.
Yeah,
it's essentially what it is. So it's being a little bit of a nerd myself. I think I'm pretty entrenched in it at this point.
Yeah, you're very entrenched in it as you're wearing their shirts.
Oh yeah, and the hat. I do got the Logan Arcade shirt on today. Shout out to the Logan Arcade.
Someone's been branded.
Hey man, like I said, you give me some free shit, I'll wear it. I don't care. As long as it's not a dress, I'll be all good.
Are you be Fez?
Oh man, so look, in this episode we got the World Series set to begin. So we're going to talk a little bit of playoffs, and then we're also going to talk about our all-time favorite Chicago playoff teams. We have all that plus stirring the pot and what you looking at. But first, this is the Big Three with Big Z.
Thanks, E-Rock. I'm Big Z, and you're not. Now for today's stories. Wow, that cut off abruptly there.
That's what we call a shorty.
It's a shorty. All right. Story number one.
A button on a fur coat. Continue.
I don't know that reference. I'm not that old.
That has nothing to do about being old.
All right. Do you ever play the 50-50 raffles at the games, like the ball games, football games, baseball games?
I have.
All right. Have you won ever?
I have not. That's why I rarely play.
I mean, it's a donation. You get to write it off in your taxes.
Yeah, I also like to win.
So do I. Yeah, I've never won either. But this guy named Drew Shipley.
Okay.
Went to week 1 to see the Washington Commanders and bought a ticket. And guess what? He won.
Nice.
Yeah. $14K.
Really? Wait, there was that many There was that many.
Well, that means they raised 28,000.
Yeah, it's 1 week. It's week one.
And that's a football game.
Yeah,
They should be
one.
raising $100,000 easily.
Yeah, I mean, but it's also the Commanders.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. They're usually drunk. Anyways, they're pretty drunk and rowdy people.
Yeah.
Yeah, what is it, piglets or whatever they call it?
No, what the hell?
They're wearing dresses
Oh,
and
man,
dress
I'm
as
really mad
pigs.
about yeah,
it was a commercial.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Anyways, so he gets his check, and he puts it into his bank account, and guess what? It bounced. So not only is this organization in shambles because Dan Snyder is just a piece of shit, it's just weird that you get a check from a huge corporate entity.
Here's my problem. Okay, if this raised $28,000 and you're getting the split, you're getting 50% of that pot. Where did that $28,000 go? Like, did they just put it in the wrong account when they're like, "Hey, I'll sell you later. I'll sell you later. $14K."
Yeah, it's got to be somebody in accounting that just messed something up.
It sounds like it. So the what we were looking for was the Hogettes.
The Hogettes,
and that's the big fat fans that dress up as pigs, which is extremely appropriate for a team that's owned by a guy like Dan Snyder.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, when that happens to you, who are you supposed to go to?
Dan. Like,
hey, Dan.
Hey. Now you're speaking my language.
Yeah.
We'll get Kermit to talk to Miss Piggy and do it up, baby.
Oh man.
Do it up. You want some ham hocks?
Story number 2. Speaking of money,
Hey,
a Florida student was making it rain in school, man.
it does rain quite a bit in Florida, so that's impressive that he was able to get the rain inside.
So a 14-year-old broke into her grandparents' safe and stole $13,500. That's probably why this dude didn't get paid.
Snyder's in Florida.
Yeah. She then processed to give $100 bills to kids all over the school.
So
This young girl's facing a felony charges for grand theft and was arrested and given a $2,000 bond.
And I'm pretty sure they reached out to the students, says, "Hey, can you please give that back?"
Yeah, the school reached out, and reached out to the families and the students. Says, "Hey, if this person gave you money, we need you to return it back because this is leftover money from when the grandparents sold the house." So she took half of the savings out of there.
But how did the student access the money?
She broke into the safe, so she was probably watching them, open the safe and learn the combination.
That's rough. They
That's-
didn't Ocean's 11 it, like, hire a small Asian to hide inside until you almost suffocated. I mean, look, like, what? First of all, that's a lot of money. Like, I get it, but that's a lot of cash just sitting around, right? I feel like
it is, but it's an older kind of older generation thing to do.
Like, y'all don't have mattresses, like, what the fuck?
It's Florida. That shit'll fly away, bro. The hurricanes.
It'll float away.
Float away, right?
Come sail away. Come sail away. Yeah. But it's I just don't know how you sit there as a kid. Like, 14 is old enough to be like, yeah, this is probably a bad idea.
It's good to know. There was kids that are like, I don't know who this kid was. I've never seen them.
Yeah. So
why would you give me $100?
Right. Exactly. It's almost like that dude on YouTube. He's like, hey, here's $1,000. Would you rather take it or double it and give it to the next person? Or they usually start at 10. So they go on and on and on. And then, depending on the amount, like I've seen it go from like 5 to 10 to like, a couple $100s. And they're like, no, give it to the next person. They double it and they double it. And yeah. So, I mean, that's kind of what it seems like. Like, yeah, just some random person came up to me in Walmart and offered me some money. Have you seen this?
No.
It's that. So, There was one where it's like, I'll give you $1,000 now, or you could double. I saw that one, and eventually it got up to a pretty big amount, and then he still said, you know what, even though it's 10 grand, like I'm sure that someone else could really use 20 grand, so I'll give it to them. So he goes, okay, here, and he gives them the suitcase or whatever full of money, and that guy personally walks over to someone. He finds like a woman with like 3 kids, and they're like, he goes, and this is just a random guy in the store, and he gives it to this lady, and she's like, what is this? And he goes, I was given an opportunity to give someone money, this and that and that. So he gives the money, and then this kid who somehow has all this money also gave that same person another thing of 10 grand or 20 grand or whatever it is. It's like, okay, as a reward for your good deeds type of thing. But a lot of people took that grand right to stack, like, no, I'm going to take that. I'll take that one right there.
I've seen the ones where it's like, random dude, again, same concept, and he walks up to like a homeless person.
Yep.
And he's like, you know what? Hey, I my phone died. Do you have a couple dollars so I can get on the bus?
Yes.
And they give their money right away. And he's like, you know what?
He goes, and he goes, why did you do that? You don't really
you don't have
much.
anything. Yeah.
He goes, why did you give me just what you had? Why did you share it with me? He goes, because I know what it's like to have nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
And
then he rewards him with $1,000 and whatever. Yeah.
And like takes him and gives him a fade and they're like, and get him some food and all the McDonald's you want, shit like that.
I mean, it's great and everything that you're doing that, but you're also trying to make yourself famous and.
Right, but here's the thing. So and again, I don't remember the name of this kid directly. He's only I just read an article about him. He's like 23 or 24. He also did what is it? Squid Games? You seen Squid Games? Okay, he did something, a tournament like that style. Of course, he didn't die, but I mean, like whoever got it to the end had a similar choice to make. Do you keep the money? Do you give it away? So on and so forth. Do you want to split the money? And then if they split it, they both get this, the same amount. The original amount, the full amount.
Right.
But yeah, so I mean, and the thing is that right now, if I'm not mistaken, he is the most highest earning YouTuber. So because he's doing this, he's actually earning more money from YouTube because he's becoming more famous, and he's just taking that money. He's like, I don't fucking need all this money. He just gives it away to people.
We need money.
We do. I'm gonna call him up. I'm gonna hit him up for a sponsor.
There we go.
Come on, man.
Yeah, donate to us.
That's right.
All right, story number 3, and I'm going to try to gross you out now. A California eye doctor said he had an elderly patient who came in complaining of blurry vision, ended up removing 23 disposable contact lenses in her eye.
I got double vision, or 23 times vision. I mean, that's.
I mean, at that point, you're looking like the Hubble telescope.
Yeah, I just don't. You ever see anyone with like the Coke bottle glasses where like you feel like it goes in so much that like how do your eyeballs not make contact with you? Like,
also, don't look at the sun; your head will explode.
You want to talk about contact lenses? Them lenses are so thick they're actually touching your eyes, right? So I mean, like, but I just don't understand like how you do that so often, and. I think it was like she forgot to take them out. And I'm like, how do you forget that?
It was obviously it's an elderly lady. And then I was reading the article, and it's pretty much talking about like as you get older, your eye socket, there's a lot more room in there. So they were just sitting there and getting pancaked on and on and on and on. And so when he was taking them out, you just see them just like, it looked like a slivers, just as they were just coming down, like slivers of meat, just sliding down.
All I'm thinking about now is pancakes.
I mean, I can always go for pancakes.
So what did he just use some syrup to get them out? Hey!
I tried. Oh, man. All right, I'm Big Z, and that's news to me. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.
Hey, true Chicago sports fans, show off your Chicago pride with some fresh clothes from Grit Clothing Company. At Grit Clothing, they create that simple yet classic style that represents that Chicago Southside lifestyle. From t-shirts to hoodies, hats to glassware, they've got you covered. Grit has everything you need to represent your Chicago pride. So do it right now. Check out gritclothingco.com and use the promo code TrueFan15.
TrueFan15.
For 15% off your entire order. Let me say it again. That's gritclothingco.com and use the promo code TrueFan15 for 15% off of your entire order.
Hey guys, it is Steven, and you're listening to True Chicago Sports Fans. Don't forget to listen to No More on the Weekend podcast, released on Mondays. Cheers.
Welcome back to the TCSF podcast with E-Rock and Big Z.
Oh, yeah.
I know it's your favorite time of the year, Z. Yep. It is the MLB Playoffs. Right now we're watching the Phillies. Look, it looked like they were getting ready to take this thing all the way, go to the World Series, but right now they're tied up with San Diego, man.
Dude, this whole series is back and forth.
And it's crazy because it really, you haven't seen a lot of blowouts, right? You're not seeing a lot of blowouts in this postseason so far. What do you think about what's happened so far?
I mean, we started with the AL with the darling, with the Cleveland Guardians.
Yeah, your favorite.
Yeah, fuck Ohio. Going against Tampa, and they take out Tampa. It was weird, man. It was weird. But they have pitching and defense, and Francona's got them playing right. But they ran into a buzzsaw, which is the offensive juggernaut that was the Yankees.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Is I mean, you look how strong the AL East was this year. You had Tampa in the wild card round. You had the Blue Jays in a wild card round, right? And then you had the Yankees, who were the division winner with everything that Judge did. So I mean, like Cleveland had to go through the gauntlet to make it even to play the Yankees after everything that they had to fight for to win the division, and then go ahead and beat up on a pretty good Tampa team. But once you run into the Yankees right then at that point, I mean, they were just a juggernaut all season, and they just did not stop against the Guardians.
Yeah, it was David and Goliath, really, because Cleveland wasn't that good when you look at talent wise. I think their hustle and defense and pitching is what got them there.
You need fundamentals.
Yeah,
I know.
All right, let's go on the other side of the bracket. We got Seattle, who was one of my favorite teams in the West, going against the Blue Jays, and they took care of business, man.
And they did, because you look at what the Blue Jays have on that team, right? They have all these
second generation guys,
second generation of like really, really great players.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like up in, you got Vlad Jr., you got Bo Bichette. I mean, who was the other one? He has like Cavan or so. He has a weird name. But I mean, like you look at all the talent that they have on that team, and they just can't seem to get
over the hump.
And it's tricky because this is a homegrown team, right? It's not like it's a team that has been built through free agency. It's all been built through the draft. So you have a couple of years here where they still have time to develop. I literally just showed you the 2017 Sports Illustrated that I found in my stash of Aaron Judge. And you're talking about 5 years later, he's like the best hitter in the American League and most of all of baseball this year. I mean, as far as home runs are concerned, I mean, he did have a very, very high strikeout rate, but that's what it happens when you're a home run hitter.
Right.
Just ask Kyle Schwarber.
But I was going to say Javi Baez, but
what I'm saying is Schwarber hits a lot of home runs.
Oh,
and he also strikes out a lot. So that's my comparison. But I mean, that Seattle team was extremely impressive. I don't think a lot of people saw them coming.
Yeah.
And it's a young team, and they have a lot of room to grow and develop, especially being in the division that they are.
The division they have to deal with Big Brother as well.
Yeah.
Houston is just, they're just a winning program. Whether you think they're cheating every year or not, I mean, that's debatable. And that's, if you want to go stalk their stadium and their players and
check the trash.
Yeah, check the trash. Do all that. Yeah, go for it. But they continue to win. It's been 4 years since the scandal, and they're still winning.
And and that's the thing. I think it was because they were the 2017 champs,
I believe so.
Right after the Cubs. And the thing is that at that time, when I looked at the way that team was built, they did the same thing the Cubs did. They tanked. They brought these guys in through the draft, and then like someone might be smart, they went and got Verlander, who wanted to be on the Cubs. But hey, let's go to the Astros, and you win your championship, and you keep doing your thing down there. And like you said, I mean, you're talking about a winning program, right? They found a way to find, and that's the thing is that like when you think about football or basketball, right? Basketball, you typically need a big three, and football, you need a really great quarterback. You need, even if your defense is just hot garbage, you need a good running back, or at least running back by committee. You need a really good quarterback. You need a decent tight end, and you need at least two good receivers, right? That's just the key of it, right? But I mean, if you have good receivers, good tight end, good running back, and you don't have the quarterback, it doesn't matter. None of that matters. And in baseball, it's every position matters, right? You can't really hide guys that are bad at defense. You can put them in left field, but I mean, it doesn't matter.
Sox. It's the White Sox. We talk about bad outfielders.
Yeah. So, but I mean, like, you look at how impressive, whether you like Houston or not, how impressive it was. And you look at a guy like Alvarez is just tearing the cover off of the ball, and you consider the fact that they've done all this despite the scandal, despite the fact that they lost Carlos Correa to free agency,
right?
And you look at they're just replacing. Was it Joey Pena or Jesse? What was the guy's name?
I think it is Pena.
Yeah, so I mean, he replaced him, and it was funny because I think Correa was actually on the post game in studio talking to the Astros after they.
No way.
After they won. So you're looking at a Houston team right now that's up 3-0 on the Yankees, who somehow forgot how to hit.
Oh, the Yankees were complaining because they opened the stadium.
Shut the hell up. Like,
Bro, you play in an open stadium.
Right. And yeah, I just don't understand it. And I know that Houston never opens it up. I mean, I think it was like the second time or third time all season. So I thought that was kind of an odd choice considering the fact that like you had all the success during the regular season and then you you trying to throw a wrench into it. Like it was an odd choice.
Yeah, it's odd. I mean, I do like that ballpark though.
It is. It's a
now
cool
that they took
park.
now that they took that hill,
stupid hill in the back.
Oh
yeah,
my
yeah.
God! I was like, yo, someone's gonna blow out their knee.
Yeah, and it's happened.
Yeah.
It's happened. You see him climbing up that hill, and like there's no warning. That's your warning track is running up a hill.
Yeah.
Who do you, Walter Payton running up that hill?
Jesus.
Kate Bush, calm down.
Kate Bush. Jerry Pena is the man you're talking about.
There you go. So I mean, and you look at the fact that you're just replacing pieces, right? Like you've seen some of their guys leave and go to other teams. Was it Springer? Is that the one that went up to Toronto?
It was Springer.
And they still got Bregman.
Yeah, and they replaced him with Trey Mancini, who was having a bad season with the Orioles, and then comes over here and is like doing well.
Right. And I mean,
winning culture changes everything.
100%. That a change of scenery, especially in baseball, when you're talking about such a long season, when you're just entrenched in a culture that's just not going anywhere. I mean, you look at a guy who like Trey Mancini, who's been an all-star for a while. He was like the only all-star in Baltimore after they got rid of like Adam Jones and Machado. Right? They really had nothing, no names over there. And for him to come over to Houston. Wow, for him to come over to Houston and do his thing, I mean, it's impressive. And it comes down to the culture, especially considering what you've seen through with everything that went on with Hinch, no longer there. Now you're sitting there and you're talking about guys that are playing very hard for 157-year-old Dusty Baker. I mean, Dusty is a very appropriate name for him at this point in his life.
Because he's dusty as hell.
Dusty as hell.
So what I was hearing is that the Houston called the Cubs about a certain catcher that's on your team.
That doesn't surprise me. I mean, Machado, who is it? Is it Machado behind the plate now? I forget his name.
No, it's Christian Vasquez.
No,
and,
who's the other guy? Maldonado, who actually was on the Cubs for a cup of coffee a couple years ago.
Yeah, so... because I think Maldonado was hurt during the season, and that's why they picked up Christian Vasquez
from the Red Sox.
Yeah, so they called, but I don't think that Contreras wanted to be a backup, and that's probably what.
Contreras is a starter in this.
No, and he is. But I think they were asking him to step in, and then after that, he would be backing up.
He wants to be the man at the catcher position, considering the fact that he had to play second fiddle. He had to play third fiddle because you also had, at the time when the Cubs won the World Series, you're talking about David Ross and you're talking about Montero. Yep. Montero with that huge, Grand Slam I think he had. I mean, so you're at that time, we're talking about, 7 years ago at this point. But, I mean, Contreras was like, hell no, I'm the man.
I put my time in.
Hell yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah, and looking at the looking at the other side of the bracket, we got the Red Hot Phillies who are playing San Diego right now, but they went through St. Louis, who's always pesky. We both hate the St. Louis Cardinals.
The Cardinals, I mean, really cool stadium, cool atmosphere. Actually, a great place to watch baseball.
Great, yeah.
I mean, it's a great place to take a nice mean shit. Go
back in the archives for that one.
That's right. But yeah, I mean, St. Louis is always tricky. I mean, you're looking at you saw that kind of late season resurgence from a guy like Albert Pujols, who's sitting there and he's trying to get over the hump to make sure he gets his 700. You're talking about a guy like Yadier Molina, who I really want the Cubs to make Contreras into the Cubs version of Yadi. Wainwright. I mean, you have a lot of really good players that are on that team, and I think some of us expected the Brewers to be the front runner in the
Brewers always collapse, man. Every year.
And when they do make the playoffs, it's as a wild card, So I mean, I don't think I didn't expect that much out of the Brewers, but I mean, just in general, the fact that they traded Josh Hader over to the Padres, I think they knew
they swapped. They swapped closers.
You know what I mean? Which was weird, but I mean, I think that kind of tells you that the writing was on the wall for Milwaukee, that they knew that they weren't going to be able to advance where they wanted to. So they're like, all right, let me give Hader a chance. Let me see what we can get back for him. But yeah, I mean, seeing the trajectory that the Phillies are on right now, not only did they take out St. Louis in that wild card round, they went over and took out the world champs from last year.
Yeah, and that's that was one series that I was very surprised about, because the champs have a team that's stacked from top to bottom. They have youth, they have experience, and they ran the gauntlet pretty much because they were behind New York for 147 days, and then they come out of nowhere and take New York out of first place. So
And I mean, there was even, I think Dick's Sporting Goods in New York was actually selling Mets division champ shirts.
Yep.
Like, you idiots.
Yep, no.
You fucking jinxed them.
That's a fine. And then you got the other side. You got San Diego and the Mets. I thought San Diego's was easy to.
Before we run over there,
Yeah.
I mean, I do want to talk about Atlanta because I think the biggest problem with Atlanta, I feel like they overlooked Philly.
Yes.
And I think that when you look at the biggest thing that they did wrong was their defensive mistakes, because they had a lot of errors in that series, and I really believe that's what took them down. If they had the hunger that they had last year before winning the World Series, I feel like they would have had a much better chance, and they could have taken out
I
Philly.
agree. I think they were like, oh, it's just the Phillies. The Phillies were one of the worst teams come All-Star break. They had just come off firing their manager, and they've made a couple trades, and they're like, oh, well, it's just the Phillies. They're not going to do anything this year.
Well, I mean, and you look up and down at that Phillies roster. I mean, you know, we're talking about the Phillies versus the Padres right now, and you see the similarities and the parallels between Machado and Bryce Harper, and the fact that, you know, we've been sitting here. The Washington Nationals won the World Series the year after they traded
left.
Bryce Harper, or he left in free agency.
He left
right?
in free agency.
So I mean, like, you know, you're sitting there, you're like Bryce, who was the face of the Nats for a while since he came up and made his debut.
Right.
He makes his way over to Philly in one of their rivals, right? It's like one of our guys going over to St. Louis or, you know, the Brewers or something like that.
Right.
As far as, you know, the north side team. But we didn't see that production. We didn't see that big, like, hurting that we thought that the Phils were going to put on people, and then they get Schwarber, and then they get Castellanos, and they keep going and going.
Noah
and going.
Syndergaard,
Yeah.
David Robinson from the Cubs.
And they traded for him. They traded for Syndergaard, who was on the Angels. So I mean, like, I think Thor should have stayed with the Angels just for the trajectory and just for my own, like, mind.
Randy,
that's where that.
Like,
that,
I'm going to be at Disney,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like, him coming over to the Phillies, I mean, it's been a very interesting thing that they've been able to do, and now they're sitting up looking pretty, up 3-1 on the Padres, getting ready to go to the World Series, and Padres are fighting back right now, man.
Well, the Padres were one of those teams that were getting beat up by Big Brother. Again, the same story all around baseball. And then this one, little brother took out Big Brother.
Yep. And I mean, look, San Diego has definitely 1,000% paid their dues on their way to the NLCS. I mean, considering the fact that you did have to go in there and take out the Mets, who is a powerhouse that just kind of faltered at the end of the season. I think San Diego got hot at the right time, and the Mets, like, fell at the wrong time.
Yep.
And that's how they were able to overcome, and then they went over and had put a hurting on your boys in blue.
Yeah. You know, so it looks like the two teams that had over 100 wins are about to be kicked out of the playoffs.
I mean, look, I've actually seen a lot of people complain, saying, well, you know, the wild card is too much because, you know, why the guys that have been good all season should have a better chance and this and that. I'm like, if you're the best team, or you're one of the better teams all season, then continue to be the better team. I mean, don't just sit there and, you know, again, we know that when it comes to the playoffs, especially when it comes to Major League Baseball, I mean, most of the time it's the hottest team that does it.
Yeah.
When you look at
Atlanta.
what happened, Atlanta last year had the worst record in I think one of the worst records in baseball at the halfway mark, and then they came up and won the World Series. You know,
Right.
So like I said, the thing that I always say is, like, all you need is a chip and a chair. If you can get me a seat at the table, I'm going to do whatever I can to win the damn thing, and that's how it goes. You know, I mean, like, sometimes being the underdog is an advantage to you because you don't have all that pressure, you don't have the expectations of being the World Series champs from last year, or, you know, being the team that almost won the NL East and then faltered at the end, or being a team like the Dodgers with a gigantic payroll and you know, the Padres right now, I mean, they're just kind of living on borrowed time. They're very, very good parallel for a team like the Phillies because they're in the exact same position. You got really good players that are, some, especially their pitching, are going towards the end of their career.
Right.
But you have a lot of really good young hitters, and the fact that they went out and got Juan Soto after everything that went down in Washington, I mean, I think that was a surprise.
And he had a rough year.
He did.
He had a rough year. He's barely turning it around right now. San Diego has taken a beating by the Dodgers all year. They lost the series, and then they took it to the Dodgers. They said, nope, this is not happening anymore. We're going to change the narrative.
Right.
All our guys are showing up. We're doing all the fundamental stuff. And like you said, the Dodgers had spent so much money on payroll.
Yeah.
So much money. And so did the Yankees. And it didn't equate to anything. And that's what we love baseball. You can buy a team. It doesn't mean you're going to win.
Well, I mean, and that's the same reason why you see Tampa keep showing up on, and
Of course, year after year.
in your bracket, because they're a tough organization. They have a shit fan base. There's nobody there watching the games.
It's sad.
They have no stadium. I mean, it's baseball in Florida is just miserable. But the fact of the matter is that Tampa finds a way to stay in it.
There's a duck again.
I see that, just hanging out. Where are they? Are they in Philly?
They're in Philly. Yeah,
that's why the weather sucks ass. But yeah, quack quack.
So right now, what are we looking? What's the score here?
I think it's tied up still. Yeah.
No. They scored.
Came up.
Azúcar scored.
Yeah. Oh, sweet boy.
So right now, Philly's up 3-1 in the series. I mean,
but the Padres are up 3-2 in the game.
Yeah, but
Darvish still pitching.
He's still pitching.
Bottom of the seventh, only 85 pitches.
He's a workhorse.
Yeah. Well, but
he's always been.
It's your bottom of the seventh is only 86 pitches at this point. I mean, you think
he can finish the game.
Oh, he can 100% finish the game, and that would be extremely beneficial for the Padres, especially with Lee right here. If they can close it out, if somehow Darvish can finish out this game, that would be so great for their bullpen, because it puts you in a position now where the Phillies are really, the pressure's on them. They got to win. They have to win one of the last two games to try to make it over to the World Series.
Oh, yeah. I mean, so if you're looking at the World Series matchup, which we'll probably talk about that, another episode, the Yankees are going to be out. You got Houston.
So you right now you're looking at Houston's up 3-0. And they're going to play later on this evening.
The fat lady's already singing.
You give no chance to the Yankees at all?
Not to win the series.
Okay. I mean, look, it's baseball, man. We've seen weirder things.
We have, but
we've seen weirder things.
The Yankees are hitting 133.
Yeah. Again. Okay.
Feast or famine.
Altuve is 0 for 28. He has the worst opening in the playoffs.
No, he got a hit yesterday.
Oh,
he got a hit.
Yeah. Was it a little hit?
Exactly.
You
beat me to it.
A little baby hit.
A little baby hit.
Yeah. All right, so now you look at, you're taking Houston to go to the World Series on the AL side. And I mean, who is very consistent? I mean, how many times have they been in the ALCS? I think it's like 6 in a row, right? That's the model of consistency.
Yeah, that's the old Atlanta Braves.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
We're always going to be there.
That's perfect. And then now you're looking at two kind of teams that are really, I have fought tooth and nail to get to this position, going through the Mets and the World Series champion Braves from last year and the LA Dodgers. I mean, you look at these two teams, they're very closely parallel in a lot of ways. The way that they're built, like I said, Machado and Harper, first pick overall, third pick overall, signed the same year with their new teams. All of the things that we've seen that are parallel. Who are you taking from the NL to go to the World Series?
I'm going Philly. I got to go with the hot hand. Got to go with the hot hand.
Okay.
So I want Schwarber in there again.
Yeah, I don't doubt that. I mean, I would like to see Darvish kind of get some redemption in a World Series as well, especially going back up against Houston. I think that would be a very interesting narrative to see, like, after everything that went on, after all the shit that everyone gave him, you garbage and this and that. Right? He was with the Dodgers, and it comes out, and it came out to be 100%. He's like, I don't know what's happening. I'm a good pitcher. Everyone knows I'm, and it fucked up his psyche for a couple of years. And finally, like with that last year, the Cubs, you saw him straighten it out. But I mean,
they pulled him,
and now he's pulled 6+. Okay, he's got to run around second here. But I mean, like, look, considering the fact that you're looking at everything that he had to deal with today, being down after that Hoskins home run with Schwarber on base to make it 2-0, and all that crap that he keeps digging out of his cleats.
It is pouring. It is pouring. If you have no footing, that affects your pitching big time. So I think Darvish has found his groove again, and he's going to be one of those pitchers that's going to be looked at to be a staple to hold on a rotation. We're just watching highlights right now. But, for me, I got to go with the Phillies, but I would love to see San Diego because they've never won a championship.
Right. And I think Phillies was 2008 was their one we watched with
Ryan Howard.
Yeah.
I actually bought a Phillies hat right after, too.
I bought a Phillies hat because I like the
Old Town Philly?
The old time. No. I like their old school logo with the P.
The Schmidt one, the Mike Schmidt one.
The one that they use now for it's that one there. That's but you just never saw it a lot of the time. I think they had kind of a different logo they were using at the time. It was like a bell or something like that.
It was the bell.
Yeah, and it's lucky also for Philly that the Eagles are off this week, being the only undefeated team, and you got a Sunday game.
And what if they both win the World Series and the Super Bowl?
Well, I mean, you got at least 11 more games for the Eagles. So that's a long ways away. But
they got to play the Cowboys and everybody else.
And here's the thing: it's an interesting point that you actually brought up, because I've thought about sports in Philadelphia recently, considering the fact that you have the Eagles doing really well right now. You have what the Phillies are doing, and you look at the Sixers, who have a very good team too and have been contending. I mean, it's a sweet time to be a
Philly fan.
Philly fan, absolutely.
How are the Flyers doing?
I have no idea. They're flying away. Gritty is doing the gritty somewhere. All right, so you're taking Philly to play Houston in the World Series.
Yeah.
All right.
I still see Houston in 6.
Okay. I mean, look, it's hard to dispute what they're doing right now. I think a really key component of Houston not only winning the series but winning the World Series is going to be, Alvarez continuing to hit, because he's in the right mind frame right now. I mean, he's a guy. I look at him. I look at Miguel Sano in Minnesota. Guys that I kind of paralleled when because I play fantasy baseball a lot.
Right.
So I kind of paralleled their careers, and one has not done what I expected, and Alvarez has actually absolutely been amazing. But I think really what it comes down to, the key cog in them winning another World Series, it's not Verlander, who is going to be very important. It's not Alvarez. It's Altuve.
Yep.
Altuve has to bring his bat, no matter how small it is. No matter how little that bat is, you got to bring it out, son, and Wakata la pelota. You got to do something with that damn thing, bro, because you can't stop watching strikes, bro. I don't know what your problem is, but you got to start hitting that sucker. And the problem, I think a big part of the problem is that the bat is so big that by the time he starts swinging it, he can't check that swing, right? That shit takes him off like he's up and the balloons just float away.
Judge uses a bat the size of Altuve.
Yeah, it's my favorite thing. My favorite thing is when Judge is on second base, because then you see him. It literally looks like me when I walk with my buddy Kyle. It looks like somebody taking his dad to the park, right? Or like a dad, like, come here, son. Would you like an ice cream?
So who are you taking? So we can close this out and move on to the important stuff.
Oh, the important stuff. Look, I honestly, I think you're on the right track. I think Houston is going to be the ones that take the World Series right here. Assuming they get past the Yankees, assuming that the Phils will go on and be the NL representative for the World Series. But it'll be interesting for sure. But I just think that the way that they're positioned, I think also because Dusty still has not won a World Series, I think they right now are playing for him, which you see a lot because these older managers, and him and his rubber gloves are gonna win a World Series this year.
He's giving everybody prostate exams.
So you got Houston in
Houston 6.
I mean, I'll jump on that one with you. I mean, we're gonna watch every game. You know that.
Oh yeah,
so
we are.
matter.
But I can't see. I mean, I don't know, man. They're just steamrolling through everybody, man.
Yeah, and that's what they do, right? That's what they do all the time. Again, I think it's impressive considering they're bringing up young guys to replace a guy like Correa, who sat there and told all of us last year, it's my time. Well, it's your time to watch this year. So I'm wondering if he's regretting that decision right now. Because here's the thing, him being a free agent,
yes,
right? They had a guy ready to take his spot. So it wasn't like he was like, oh, they struggled to how do you fill his shoes, right?
No.
So they had someone ready to actually, he was blocking him from coming up, and now he's there. So, yeah, I mean, I think I got to go with you, and I think maybe Houston wins a legitimate World Series this year.
Yeah. It's a legitimate World Series. I mean, there's, I don't know. Are they getting policed?
I would assume so. I haven't heard any bangs. I haven't seen Altuve like grab his chest and make sure the buzzer was still working, or and I think that all of it would really confuse Dusty. But to be fair, as far as we know, AJ Hinch didn't know what was going on behind his back anyway. So I mean, it's possible that there's something skeevy going on. But I think honestly, I think that's the biggest shame of it, of the whole thing, was the fact that when you look up and down their roster and you look at the talent that they had with Springer and Bregman and Altuve and Correa, I think the shame of it is that there was cheating involved with it, whether it helped them, whatever it is, just knowing the pitch. Yeah, you can prepare for it.
It helped Altuve.
You still got to hit it.
Yeah,
you still got to hit it, right? Yeah. That's the same thing with Sammy and Mark McGwire. Right. Juice them up all you want. You still got to hit.
And they were all three of those guys were really good hitters before they took the steroids anyway.
Correct.
So it doesn't really matter.
So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back with our favorite Cubs and White Sox playoff teams after a word from our sponsor.
Hey, true Chicago sports fans, show off your Chicago pride with some fresh clothes from Grit Clothing Company. At Grit Clothing, they create that simple yet classic style that represents that Chicago Southside lifestyle. From t-shirts to hoodies, hats to glassware, they've got you covered. Grit has everything you need to represent your Chicago pride, so do it right now. Check out gritclothingco.com and use the promo code TrueFan15.
TrueFan15.
For 15% off your entire order. Let me say it again. That's gritclothingco.com and use the promo code TrueFan15 for 15% off of your entire order.
Hey, this is comedian Ken Garr, and I was just a guest on the True Chicago Sports Fans podcast with Big Earl and G-Money and a bunch of weirdos. So tune in!
Welcome back to the TCSF podcast with E-Rock and Big Z.
Oh, yeah.
Today, we're talking World Series, and we're talking about our favorite Chicago playoff teams. First up for the Cubs at number 3, I'm picking the 1998 Cubs.
This is the Sosa Cubs.
This is the Sosa Cubs. So this right here is specifically important to me. This is my first really, I've talked about it before on the show. This is my first year where I'm really paying attention to baseball. You had it was a really, really interesting season overall. I mean, it was the first time that the Cubs reached the playoffs since 1989, and they won the wild card, and they clinched that one-game playoff against the San Francisco Giants, who they've seen several times since then in the playoffs. But unfortunately, they ended up losing in a 3-0 sweep to the Braves, which is kind of common for the Cubs because they could never really beat the Braves, especially during that era.
After you give up your best pitcher, of course.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. Well, hey, do you want to build a snowman? No, then go to Atlanta. That's how that's gonna work. So I mean, but yeah, this was the 98. The Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire home run race. It was just there was so many milestones during the season. This was a season where Harry Carey passed away in February. You're looking at, this is also the season where in May, Kerry Wood had his 20 strikeout game. And the funny enough is that during that back and forth between Sosa and McGwire, Steve Traxel, when he was with the Cubs, he actually gave up McGwire's 62nd home run of the season, which broke the home run record by Roger Maris. So, I mean, there was just a lot of things that went on during the season that every time you kind of turned on the TV, something magical was happening.
It was a magical season, and it was one of those seasons where you had to watch baseball. You would stop what you were doing, put on the radio, put on the TV, just because of the home run race. It brought baseball back, especially after the strike. The numbers were down, and baseball needed the balls to be juiced and the players to be juiced, just for everything to come back to normal. I mean, America used to be, America's pastime. The sport, right? Now it's football. Everyone watches football. So
fantasy football.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, for us, that's what it is. For the 98 Cubs, I do remember Gary Gaetti.
Yeah, it was a lot of personality.
Glenn Allen Hill.
First of all, let me tell you about Glenn Allen Hill. Glenn Allen Hill had a bat he had a two-tone bat, and I think the handle was black and the actual barrel was red. And I remember Glenn Allen Hill hitting like the longest home runs all the way out of Wrigley and hitting the buildings across the street.
Yep, all the time.
Monster.
That's why I remember him. I remember having his baseball card. I was like, oh man, this dude is stacked. You had really, it's funny because you had former White Sox Lance Johnson as well on this team.
Yeah.
Mark, obviously Mr. Consistent, Mark Grace.
Yes.
Other names like Terry Mulholland, Mickey Morandini. Scott Service.
Yep.
Oh my God. You literally had like all these guys that were mosh posh and put together.
Well, I mean, but that's again you're
youth
talking about,
youth and experience.
and you're talking about Kerry Wood's rookie season, right?
Right.
You're like you said, Kevin Ory is another one, that third baseman that never really kind of came into fruition the way you expected him to.
Yep.
Glenn Ellen Hill, like you said, I mean, he was claimed off of waivers from the Mariners, right? So
Yep.
he was just a guy that was out there. Of course, the legendary Rod Beck, who swung his arm back and forth. I mean, and the mullet and the big belly and all that stuff. Felix Heredia, I mean, up and down again. Another name that's Jeff Blauser. Jeff Blauser,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so once you go up back and forth, and people forget, like Jim Riggleman as a manager actually doing very well that year. I believe that he went on later after he was let go from the Cubs, and he went on and I believe he managed the Nationals for a while after that. But you also had Billy Williams as your bench coach that season. So I mean, it's just it was a fun season. You had Sammy Sosa hitting home runs off of everybody. He hit one off of Greg Maddux, our favorite Ryan Dempster, LaTroy Hawkins, who was a Cub. I mean, there was just he hit home runs. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you were good, bad, or in the middle. I mean, he was taking them out of the ballpark. So that Oral Hershiser, Sammy Sosa. Jason Barea, another guy that was on the Cubs. Jose Lima. So I mean, it was just one of those seasons, whether they had won the World Series or not, there was just a lot of significant milestones. Like I said, Sosa's home run race against McGuire, Kerry Wood. It was just a magical season. And like I said, that was the season where I fell in love with baseball.
And that's why I think baseball should allow people to juice.
Yeah, I mean,
it brought you in as a fan.
But here's
especially
the thing,
a young fan.
And we talked a little bit about it before. It was like the fact that you got to remember that even though you're like, oh, the batter did this, I can't believe. Hey, the pitchers were juiced up too.
Yep.
Juice was juice.
Clemens,
It wasn't, what I mean? Hell yeah. So it wasn't one way street. I mean, they were both both taking the scissor.
Yeah, but if you look at it now, like the exit velocity wasn't measured at that point, right?
No.
Yeah,
You had the distance, but not the velo.
Yeah, so it's like, we will never know how fast those balls are leaving the ballpark.
No, as fast. Well, it's faster than Sammy Sosa turned white.
Wow,
It's the second time I've referenced this on the show. All right, man. Who is in your number 3 of your top 3 White Sox playoff teams?
For me, it's very similar to you, where you got introduced to baseball for a certain thing. And for me, it was the 90s Sox, but I'm picking the 1993 White Sox. The good guys wear black White Sox. That was the logo. that was the logo. I mean, the pitch, right? So you're looking at, in the 90s, they were in the West Division. So they were out there with Oakland and Texas. So they were in that division, which made no sense at all. So in 1990, they won 94 games, but only to be second behind Oakland A's. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Yeah, they were in the West.
So 93 White Sox, right?
93 White Sox, yeah.
Okay. So I got them as 94 and 68.
Yeah, they won 94 games.
Okay.
Yeah. And then they were second to Oakland, right?
No, Oakland was terrible. Oakland was 68-94. They were first place in 93.
Okay.
Yeah, so they were 94 and 68, and the Rangers were behind them in 86 and 76. So they actually had a pretty good lead there. They were 8 games ahead and won the division. But either way, like, you're looking at a team who had like really like just magnificent players.
Yeah, you look at, this is the young nucleus of Frank Thomas, Robert Ventura, Jack McDowell, Alvarez. You had Hernandez, the closer.
You had Ozzie on that team.
Ozzy's on the team.
Tim Raines.
He was coming back off a knee injury.
Joey Cora
was also up the middle. You had
we had George Bell.
Yes, we had George Bell because we had traded for the Cubs.
Yep.
We had Ellis Burks, who signed a 1-year deal. We came over from Boston. We had The Rock, Tim Raines. We had Ron Karkovice and Carlton Fisk.
Yep.
Mike Lavari, right?
Dude, this is a Bo Jackson team.
This is Bo Jackson. This is the first year Bo Jackson actually produced, because he was coming off the hip surgery from football. You had closer Roberto Hernandez, but like Bo was it.
Yeah.
Bo was it. That was the X factor, man. 3-year deal. It was all incentive laden. I remember that. And, Bo knows.
Bo does know. I've actually, it's funny enough is that I've actually been thinking about Bo Jackson lately, because I really do want to get I want to get that poster with the bat and the The shoulder pads. Yeah. But I mean, yeah, absolutely. Like, you're looking at a team that was stacked with talent. I mean, this team right here should have won a World Series.
Yes. Well, they were going to win the World Series, and then there was a strike in '94.
Right.
Funny enough, Carlton Fisk, who was on the team, he was 45.
I believe it.
He was 45, and they released him.
Well, yeah, because he's 45. That's probably why. I mean, he was like, all right.
Fucking Pudge.
You've been on enough teams called the Sox. Let's go. It's time. It's time.
What do you remember about this team?
I remember bits and pieces because, like I said, at the time I'm really focusing on football and basketball, right? Especially the smack in the middle of the Bulls era, playing basketball literally every single day. So I wasn't really entrenched in it, but I do remember how special it was, and how excited fans were getting around the city. I mean, again, to this day, I remember, newscasters, Chicago local newscasters from the 80s and 90s. For some unknown reason, I have this thing. But I just remember Jack McDowell being a really just great pitcher at the time. And I just remember you did have like so many personalities, like you said, Carlton Fisk, Frank Thomas, Ozzie, like Bo Jackson, all these guys on this team that, were like, if you look at it now, it's Steve Staggs, George Bell. You look at it now, you're like, how the hell did they get that team together? All in the, you know what I mean? In the same dugout at once. I mean, it's pretty amazing.
I do know something you will remember, though.
Okay.
August of that year was the incident between a Texas Ranger pitcher and Robin Ventura. So that's something I know you do remember.
I do. Yeah. Robin's still hurting.
Yeah, Robin's still hurting. He still got a nuggie, or what do you call it? Noogie?
I'm pretty sure. Here's the thing. I mean, like, especially after seeing Robin Ventura and the way that he managed the White Sox, I'm pretty sure that he would still get his ass beat in that scenario. At this age, I mean,
I still think Nolan can kick his ass.
100%. Yeah, well, I mean, like when you,
that boy's from Texas,
right? Well, it's not just that, but I mean, you think about how hard pitchers move their arm and how fast. I mean, if you make a fist, I mean, you're gonna break your fucking fist, but you're also gonna break my face. Mm-hmm. And Robin knew it.
Yeah, Robin felt it. This team was going up against the Blue Jays in the playoffs. And we all know what the Blue Jays did that year.
That was a team with some
Joe Carter,
players.
Joe Carter, John Olerud, Paul Monitor.
Yep.
Dave Stewart.
Yeah,
coming over from the A's. I mean, they had a stacked team as well, so they took care of business, and it is what it is.
So I'll tell you something interesting about the 1993 White Sox season as a whole, as an organization. The AA manager for the Birmingham Barons, who we all know because Michael Jordan played for him.
Yeah.
Terry Francona.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Terry Francona. Yeah. I saw Last Dance. No, Terry Francona has always been a pretty good, really good manager, and he cut his teeth here. So it's sad that we couldn't promote him and keep him.
This is definitely that's one of those seasons where you sit there and it's always thinking about what if, right? Because of the amount of talent on the team, because of the personalities that you had on the team. So I'm going to take it over and I'm going to go to my number 2 for the Cubs.
Sure.
Since we're talking about what ifs. Mm-hmm. And it's the 2003 Chicago Cubs. This is the Bartman year. This is the Alex Gonzalez botched, ball right to the shortstop. I mean, it is a hard season to think about. I'll tell you what, I still have a VHS somewhere of me recording, because whenever they have series, especially with baseball, but whenever you have a team in the playoffs, every local news team is on there reporting from the field, from the stadium, and they're out in the front. So I still have clips of them almost winning the World Series. That was when it came down to it, again, now we're talking 2003, we're talking about 5 years into my baseball interest in my fandom, if you want to say it. Dusty Baker, the manager, coming over, and we thought we had the greatest manager ever, even though like all he did was defend his players and never actually hold them accountable for anything.
Right.
That was a big problem. But I mean, look, this is a season they went 88-74. They won the division for the first time since '94, and it was their first division title since 1989. They went on They beat the Braves, who was always the team that they could never get over. And you talk about a Braves team that's starting to get old in 2000s because they were just dominant throughout the 90s. And unfortunately, they lost to the oldest manager in the history of baseball, Jack McKeon, with that fucking cigar hanging out of his mouth. He had no idea he was even where he was at. He's like, what the hell's a Marlin? You know? But yeah, they lost 4-3, and they were, what was it, 5 outs away from going to the World Series in that year. What do you remember about that year?
I thought it was a good team. I think it was 2003. Where was I at? Okay. No, I'm just thinking because in '98 I was working at Jewel.
Yeah.
And then I worked at the TCF afterwards inside of there. So I'm like, okay, was I still there for that or not? But what I do remember, the guys that you had on a team, like Eric Karros, Kenny Lofton, Ramon Martinez, Mark Pryor, Ramos Ramirez that you got from the Pirates.
This is a team, when you start talking about all the players on the team, like I said, when I really started paying attention in 98, but 2003 was the one where I remember significant moves and events like that happened. When you talk about when they brought over Ramos Ramirez, they brought over Randall Simon, who had the thing where he hit the sausage race guy.
Yeah.
When they brought Kenny Lofton over, I mean, which was really, really weird to see him in
a young Zambrano.
A young Zambrano. You're looking at one of the best constructed rotations that really just never came to fruition. I mean, you looking at Mark Pryor, who was supposed to be the next big thing and the greatest thing on the planet, and he just really couldn't overcome. He had a great season that year, but he couldn't overcome the calf issues going forward. Same thing with Kerry Wood. I mean, being 5 years now into the league, I mean, being the captain of that pitching staff, and doing really well. You know, I think I still have the Sports Illustrated with Kerry Wood and Mark Pryor, where they're holding the baseball that's on fire. You know, you're talking about our good friend Carlos Zambrano, the other Big Z, right?
The other Big Z.
With all his trophies in the background.
Right.
And just really starting on his career. I mean, I think he's the same age as us. Matt Clement, and I think the other one was Sean Estes, I think, was one of the other pitcher in that rotation. But I mean, everyone in that team had double-digit victories. It's a shame that team was just so close, and they just couldn't. And I mean, they only won the division by one game when Houston was in our division, you know. And they were just so close, so close.
So what's worse? What's worse? Was this loss worse, or was, I don't know, because you're a bigger Bears fan than anything.
Well, I mean,
can you equate that like to the double doink? Like, which one's worse?
No, because here's the thing: is that I hadn't been a Cubs fan long enough to understand the heartbreak. This was my first, like, because with the '98 season, what I took out of the '98 season was that home run race was that, okay, this is something, right? Like, I'm paying attention to this now, and it is something that ignited a fire. But I mean, this was that first team where, like, every time they took the field, once you started seeing like the amazing things that were happening as they kept going, like I said, and they're adding pieces, and they got this guy, and they got that guy, and they brought in Moises Alou, and you had, you know, Sammy out there, and you had the bum Corey Passion.
I knew you were gonna say that.
He never freaking panned out. You know what I mean? Like, I just when I'm looking at their roster right now, and I remember what all of these guys look like. I remember what they pitched like. I remember their batting stances. You know, Todd Wellemeyer, Mike Runlinger with his little black and a salt and pepper like little beard he had there. Sergio Mitre, who murdered someone, I think, later on. I'm not even kidding. He actually killed somebody. Farnsworth, who is like an MMA fighter or something like that now, or like a crazy ass bodybuilder. I remember when he
he's a bodybuilder.
Yeah, I remember when he got into a fight with the dude from the Reds, Sean Casey, and just left him just fucking bloodied. That was awesome. Joe Borowski, just the big old Pollock back there, just like, so, I mean, that's what he was. I mean, hey, he's a ski, right? I mean, look,
he's a ski.
It is what it is. But I mean, like, you're just a big, tough, strong son of a bitch, right? Like a salt of the earth, like blue collar worker. I mean, you had a lot of those guys on this team. Damian Miller, the catcher, Doug Glanville, like all these guys that came over and joined this team to help push him over the edge. And again, you got Gary Matthews, Cubs legend, and they just couldn't beat it. I mean, it's just like I said. It was that one. It was my first chance at heartbreak as a baseball fan, and I loved it. I'll tell you what. There's no good without the bad, right?
Yeah.
That experiencing that made the World Series win that much sweeter.
Of course. Again, you're not a lifelong Cub fan, but you jumped
Look,
in.
I mean, like,
how so you like?
it's at least half my life. At
Yeah.
this point, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So, but like, you didn't experience the 84 and the 89 and all those, right? So for you to experience the 98, like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then, a couple years later, we're going to go to the World Series. Yeah. And then the momentum is just literally sucked out of the stadium.
It's Bartman. Stupid ass Bartman.
Do you blame him?
Pull your fucking handbag, man. I mean, like, I'll tell you.
It's a natural reaction put out there. It is.
But when I catch the ball comes to me, right? Like that's. I mean, the ball comes to you. You receive the ball. Mm-hmm. You don't sit out there and poke at the ball. You don't stab at the ball. You don't swipe at the ball.
That's because we played. That's different.
Dick.
you still had a couple plays right after that where they botched the ball.
And that's I mean, that's what it was. I mean, it changed the dynamic of not just the game but the series itself.
You're up 3-1, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, hey man, what are you talking about old shit? Look,
that's the whole show. We're talking about old shit.
But yeah. I mean, it was such a heartbreaker because that essentially when that happened, it kind of opened up the floodgates. You had Farnsworth in there. I mean, Remlinger went out. He gave up a single to Juan Pierre, who ended up, one of these guys that ended up on the Cubs. Really weird that you had Juan Pierre and you had Derek Lee come over to the Cubs, who were on the Cubs for a long time because that's the year that you got Aramis Ramirez. Then you sat there and you had Aramis to Derek Lee. You had Ronnie Cedeno over there at shortstop for a while. You kind of like you had an established little group right there. But the problem was that after that 03 season, your pitching just couldn't stay consistent. You had a Zambrano just getting pissed off at everyone
and breaking the water coolers and everything.
He was a great hitter.
He was
a great hitter, especially when he came to the Gatorade buckets. But I mean, just Matt Clement, like it was the heartbreaking thing about the 2003 Cubs was when you saw that happen, and then you saw Boston break their curse, right? And then the Cardinals won, and I think the White Sox won, and then the Cardinals won, and you're just sitting there watching and it's like, are you fucking kidding me, man? Like, the Red Sox, and I remember distinctly following the Red Sox at Aaron freaking Boone when he hit the home run for the Yankees to knock out the Red Sox, and I think the ALCS, and then that's when if I'm not mistaken, that's the same year that the Marlins went on to beat the Yankees in the World Series in 03. Right. So I mean, it was. There's definitely still a little like one thing I remember distinctly was Eric Karros when him and Grudzielanek got traded over from the Dodgers to the Cubs. I remember Eric Karros during all the festivities, every time they won, he had a little camcorder and he was recording everything because he was with the Dodgers for so long. And at the time that, it's not like now where they have the crazy inflated payroll, but at the time he was soaking it in just like everyone else, right? And he was like, oh my God, I'm going to be a part of when the Cubs win the World Series and break the curse. Yeah. And even a guy like him who had not been with the organization that long, you saw the heartbreak for him.
I think anytime players come over to the Cubs, they understand very quickly the passion of the Cub fans, the history of the team, and how magical it is to be playing on that field. They understand that very quickly. And they soak it up. You'll see a lot of these players live in the neighborhood. They walk to the ballpark. They'll take their bike to the ballpark. They become part of the fabric of what is Wrigleyville.
Arrieta and Lester lived like a few blocks from Wrigley. I remember doing like service calls. Like, oh yeah, my neighbor is John Lester was just walking down the street. Or one of them. And Arrieta was like, yeah, Arrieta lives actually across the alley from me. He just never leaves his house. He's kind of weird.
Yeah, I believe that one.
100%, yeah.
He's like working out fucking 12 hours a day.
Yeah. All right, man. Who is coming in at number 2 for you for the White Sox?
You've got to be kidding me.
Oh, shit. Is it Harper? Oh.
Harper just hit a home run.
Wow.
A 2-run bomb to put him back in the lead.
Wow. Well, That's going to be game over, folks. To the
No,
bottom of the eighth.
bottom of the
Philly
eighth.
up 4-3 over San Diego. Good thing we're not getting sued for calling this live.
No, we're not. That's right. All right. Number 2, right?
Number 2 spot for you.
Number 2, 2020 White Sox.
20.
You know why? You know why I'm going to this? Because it's been a while. It's been a while since they made the playoffs, and last time they made the playoffs was 2008.
Okay.
So it's been 12 years, and it was, for me, it's because the culmination of tearing down the entire thing to the studs.
Okay.
Trading your Chris Sale and trading everybody else and letting people go, and now the kids are actually up on the roster. They're actually starting to produce. Your free agents are starting to produce. Your international signings are starting to produce. And guess what? You get a manager over from the Cubs who is good with kids, good with developing and holding people accountable, and Ricky Renteria.
It's an interesting season because you look at some of the transactions that they made. That's when they brought over Yasmani Grandal. They extended Abreu. They had McCann in their grasp and they let him go.
Yep.
You brought in Nomar Mazara, your favorite. I remember you.
Fuck that dude.
You love him.
Oh my
He's
God.
your favorite. They brought back Gio for the 34th time
Yeah.
as a White Sox player. They brought over Keuchel, which
At the time was a good move.
it's a great move at the time, especially coming off of the year before when he won the World Series.
Exactly.
That's when they started kind of dismantling that team.
Tim Anderson was in full stride.
Yeah, Lou Bob gets his extension. You had Encarnacion who came over to do some good things, and your boy Steve Cishek.
Zizek.
That was and that was right before the beginning of the season. Who went on to play for the Cubs, and I think back on the White Sox and back and forth. So, I mean, it was. I was a little. It kind of threw me off a little bit, the fact that this was your number 2 favorite playoff team, and I get the reasoning why, because
It reminds you of 93.
yeah.
It reminds you of 93 because
Yeah.
you saw these kids come up being drafted, and then the free agents that came in. And it was just like magic. These guys all started playing very well. And, Ricky's boys didn't quit. That was the thing. There was the motto. Ricky's boys don't quit. And they kept coming back and didn't lose a lot of games.
Yeah, and I mean, look, they managed to sneak in there, win get a spot in the wild card. That's because it wasn't like they had a spectacular season. I mean, this is that weird COVID season.
It's the COVID season, yeah.
Where the Dodgers finally found a way to win. Even though it wasn't a whole season.
A chip is a chip.
Yeah, a chip it's a piece of a chip. It's a broken chip. And the fact that you picked a team that was managed by Ricky Renteria, and I 100% agree with the fact that this was a guy that held the team accountable. Now that we're bringing up Ricky Renteria,
Yeah.
okay. Looking at the last couple seasons with your boy TLR, do you think that
You're associating me with a lot of people I do not like.
a lot of people, especially him? What do you think would have been different for the White Sox this season in particular if they would have still had Ricky Renteria at the helm?
You would see a lot more fundamentals because Ricky Renteria was all about the fundamentals. When Moncada wasn't fielding right or running to first, hey, grab a seat next to the bench right here next to me, and we're going to watch the rest of the game. He did the same thing with Eloy, the same thing with Lou Bob, all these guys. Hey, nope, we don't play like that. And Abreu didn't have to do any. Well, I don't even think Abreu was a vocal leader. He does what he does. But it really was frustrating to see going from Ricky Renteria, who held his players accountable. Is he the greatest manager? No. To then fire him and say, hey, we're going to get the greatest manager in the world, who's 145 years old and, grew up with Dracula. And then this man's sleeping on the job and doesn't hold his players accountable. He was a hard ass that just wasn't there. He was the great-grandfather at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I really... I would have loved to be on your season recap for the White Sox.
We can do it again.
We can. The problem is that we'll venture off and start going in that direction. I really don't want to do that. But as a baseball fan and a Chicagoan, it was an extremely frustrating season for me to watch as someone who wasn't even I'm not like a diehard. I'll pay attention to the White Sox. I think everybody knows that, but I'm not I don't live and die White Sox, right? Like I have my little section of the bobbleheads over there, the White Sox section.
That's my little corner.
The little corner with the flag and everything like that. I feel like there was so much wasted potential in this season that I don't. There's no doubt in my mind that that Ricky would have just done a much better job of holding them accountable, like you said.
Yeah.
The lack of fundamentals has been a gripe of mine all season long and for the entire season. And your manager sleeping in the dugout. But the thing is too is that consistency matters, right? So even if Ricky Renteria is not the best manager, quote unquote manager in the world, right? But he also had something, he had a relationship with Abreu. He had a relationship with Eloy and Lubop and Mancada because he had coached him. You know what I mean? He was their coach. He was bilingual. He played in the league for a long time.
Right.
And sometimes even if you're not the best managers, in terms of results, right? We don't know what his results would have been with this current iteration and this current roster that was on the field for 2022, and we never got a chance to see that because TLR had to take that seat. But I do feel like he would have been a much better choice for them. Just the same way I look at a guy like AJ Hinch, who grew up with that team as a manager.
Yeah.
Allowed his team to develop with him at the helm. Put coaches in place that taught them how to bang on trash cans. Whether you like that method or not, you're putting in place things that help your team develop. And all of a sudden you cut that off and he says, okay, here's this old guy. Because you didn't go further in the playoffs during a pandemic season.
Right.
Get the fuck out of here. That's not, I mean, I feel like he should have at least got a full season with that squad and with those players.
He definitely got shafted. He was there for 4 seasons, the 17th season, 67 and 95. That's when they started making the trade, right? 62 and 100. The next, okay, great. We knew we were tanking. 72 and 89. That's a 10 game jump. And then they go 35 and 25 in the shortened COVID year.
Right.
You're 10 games over. I mean, that you got in.
It's hard. Again, it's hard to judge that season based on the amount of games that they played. Yeah. But at the same time, you did make the playoffs. I think what got him fired was the way that he treated the pitching in that series. I mean, what the fuck was Dane Dunning doing out there?
Yeah. Or Carlos Rodon.
Right.
Just why you put him out of the bullpen?
That's what got him fired.
I 100% agree with you. I'm watching those games against the A's. I'm like, what the fuck? You're not Tampa Bay. We don't put in a quote unquote starter for or opener for 1 inning. We don't do that. Yeah. And then you blow out. Was it Crochet?
Yep.
Come on.
Was it Crochet or was it what's the ponytail kid?
Kopech. It was Kopech. Yeah, they both got ponytails. So it's like, it was super frustrating, and that's what drove him to being driven out of the city.
Yeah, he drove himself.
Yeah,
he drove that bus right out the door. But yeah, I mean, like I said, it was frustrating because there was a lot of potential there, and I feel like these last 2 years have been wasted years for the White Sox, and it's frustrating to watch.
And we've got like maybe a 2-year window. And the thing is, what happened was in 2019 and 2020, we had the wide open window because Detroit sucked. Cleveland was in flux because they were trading everybody.
Cleveland was trying to figure out what to do after they lost to the Cubs in the World Series.
Right. Do we keep everybody or exactly? And then
and that's after getting rid of Lindor.
Yes,
they signed the right guy.
Yes, they did.
You know what I mean? They signed the right guy, but I mean, you're looking at the fact that you're looking at a guy like Lindor who is still a very, very good player. I mean, he would be still great on that team. But you look at that 2016 Cleveland roster, and they were in a lot of flux. They were, and the shitty thing for your team is that they've found their way back to the top of the mountain. And look, but I will tell you, number one, who is running that ship? And Terry Francona is the answer, and that's why they're doing as well as they are, and that's why the White Sox. Imagine Francona as the manager of this team. Imagine with the talent that's on the 2022 team.
We'd be playing right now.
Yeah,
because he can manage a bullpen.
Yes, and he is just so much better as far as like the analytics, knowing these players when they're young, developing them. He understands how to develop a team. I mean, he was the one that broke the Boston curse. You know what I mean? So it's just it's disappointing to see the amount of talent, not only holdovers from this 2020 season going into 2022, that just weren't able to get it done.
All right, man. So now we got to talk about number one for you, sir.
Well, this is going to become a big shock to everybody out there, but my number one all time.
It's the 1933 Cubs.
It is, actually. So in 1933, three-finger Mordecai Brown. No, of course, it's going to be the 2016 Cubs. You can't beat that as a Cubs fan. I don't care whether you started following the year before in 2015 when they almost made it, or if you joined the bandwagon, back in 89 or 84 when they might have a chance, or 03 when it really started kind of hitting me in my heart and my soul. But yeah, I mean, like, how can you not have the 2016 World Series champs as your favorite all-time, at least for people that are alive, right?
Yeah.
Your all-time favorite. I mean, you're talking about a team that essentially, ran the gamut. It was definitely a rocky road, a rough ride to actually go ahead and finish off Game 7. But I mean, there's no way that you as an outsider, as a non-Cubs fan, could find a better team to root for than that 2016 team.
It was a great team. A bunch of characters, a bunch of lovable guys. I followed, because it's kind of like with my team where I saw these guys get drafted and picked up and so forth, and the chemistry that they started building. Yeah. You had the right manager for the right team, coming through everything, and the curse, I thought it was coming through. I mean, like, oh man, 3-1.
Yeah.
And then the rain delay, I was like, man, God really doesn't like the Cubs. It's like, holy shit. And you know what? They were able to pull it off. And you know what? Like I've said this many times on air before, I shed a couple tears, and it was most for my friends that had passed away who were Cub fans, and they didn't get to experience this.
I mean, look at the players that the Cubs brought on during that season. I mean, you had everyone's favorite fatty Dan Vogelback, who's now, where is he now, in the Mets, I think?
Yeah, he was in the Mets?
I'm pretty sure, because he was like, I'm pretty sure he just went over there for the snacks. But you got guys like John Lackey, who won a World Series with the Angels back in the day. They brought over Ben Zobrist, who was the MVP of the Royals winning the World Series. This is the year they brought over Jason Hayward, which is a mixed bag considering the fact that you look at the results you got 7 years later. But
most expensive speech ever.
Most expensive speech, and I have, with no doubt in my heart or my mind, I do not think that they win the World Series without Jason Hayward. No. Period, point blank. That's it. But you also, this is the big thing is you not only brought over Hayward, but you retained Dexter Fowler, who showed up at training camp with no uniform on February 26th at training camp. And it's like, hey guys, I'm back. Because everyone thought, I forget where, I think he said he was going to sign in Houston or somewhere back in Colorado, because that's when he first played in Colorado. But I mean, like, that right there, when I remember watching Dexter Fowler walk onto the field wearing a pair of blue jeans and a t-shirt, and the whole team was like, oh shit, Fowler's back, here we go. And just that, it was just, I still remember like how dominant that team was. I mean, it was one of those teams where they had 103 wins. I mean, they won by 17 and a half games that season. Right? That's dominating. They had the most wins in the National League. They went through the gamut. They went through they go through the Giants. They had to go through the Mets, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, it was just
the Dodgers.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was the Dodgers. And you're talking about them going up against the San Francisco team who had won 3 World Series, right? So we're not talking about slouches. You're talking about going up against a team with your boy Kershaw, right? You're talking about going through and
who had just eliminated him the year before.
Yes. In 15, because they weren't ready.
Right, they weren't ready. They weren't seasoned yet. Yeah.
Right. And that 2015 team, it's probably, to be honest, it's probably a very close second to the 2016 team because of you just saw it developing and you actually had hope that, oh, this wasn't just a one-off, right? You saw the development, you saw everything, and the scary part of that season with Schwarber getting his knee blown out early in that season.
I saw that game.
Yep, and that was a collision with Dexter Fowler in the outfield, and him to become a Cubs legend coming back for the playoffs and hitting those home runs that sat. I mean, shit, I think they might still have the cue up there. I think they took it down, but they had the little cue where they preserved where the ball sat there. I mean, it's just, as a Cubs fan, you can't imagine what your family members went through when they didn't get to see your Cubs win. You spent so much time just crying and waiting and hoping and dreaming. There's no way that this is real. I still remember the moment when they went down and I went outside and I sat on the front steps and I think I was playing bowling or something silly on my phone, and all of a sudden my buddy Amir, my buddy Juan, and my wife come looking for me, and I'm drunk and I'm sitting on the front steps and I'm just sitting there. I'm like, I can't watch this final out. I can't watch my team lose again after being up 3-1 and to go to game 7 in extra innings and lose the World Series. I couldn't do it. And all of a sudden, life was breathed into me. They brought me back inside, and I still remember jumping up out of my seat, tackling my wife, tackling my buddy Amir, the skinny guy, and who thought he was going to die. To this day, he tells me he has flashbacks of his life flashing before his eyes when he thought he was going to die when I almost tackled him. And being outside and just, I still have the photos of me and Juan smoking cigars outside that night. I'm wrapped. I think we're wrapped in the W flag. I had it. I took that flag down from my wall and I had it like I was crying into the W flag. And for that entire off season, that W flag hung in my front window outside, and I did not take it down until they lost a game the next season. And that's how significant that was to me, because every day I wanted to walk past, I wanted to drive past, I wanted everyone that came to remember when the Cubs won the World Series.
It was a magical year, and it impacted the city so much because you started seeing a lot more Cubs gear being worn, and not by the diehards, but we're looking at the casual fans. You're looking at people in other sports, other athletes wearing Cubs stuff. Didn't someone have to show up in Cubs gear? Dwayne Wade and LeBron.
Yeah.
They had him come in a full uniform.
They had the bet,
Yeah, so stuff like that. It crosses boundaries, whether it's pop culture or if it's another sport. Yeah. It crosses that. And that's what the impact of that 16 Cubs team had. Not only that you broke the streak and, you are no longer heartbroken.
It's funny because one of the transactions that happened that year was a trade that just kind of bounced the guy back and forth. Adam Warren was the player that they traded Starlin Castro for, and that's when he went over to the Yankees, and they took Adam Warren and traded him right back to the Yankees for Aroldis Chapman, but they lost Gleyber Torres in the process because at the time he was blocked as shortstop position with Javi Baez. Yeah. So there's a lot of players. You look throughout the league now. There's a lot of players that are still on teams, whether they were on the winning team or they were a player that was traded who is still doing very well in the league to get someone to help you on that team. Theo did a great job of assembling and restocking the minors so you were able to get to that point, bring up the guys that you needed to, and go ahead and win a World Series, man. And it just meant even to this day, it just means everything to me to know that team, even in a shorter fandom than a lot of other people, that they were able to experience, that I was able to experience it, because that was my first championship that of a team I really cared about as an adult. Right.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I mean, you're a kid.
You appreciate
it's
it.
cool.
You appreciate it way more.
Yes.
We were kids with the Bulls.
With the Bulls, and even I remember when they won in '98. I remember walking down the street, like walking down Wicker Park, walking down Milwaukee, and there's the horns. But again, at that time, you're like, yeah, it's 6. Like it's another three-peat. You know, this is just what we do. It wasn't as exciting. And again, once again, one of my great regrets in life is not going to the parade. I still think about that.
Yeah.
All right, man. So I'm guessing at number 1, you're going to talk about another World Series winner.
That's right. The 2005 Chicago White Sox. That's right.
Who?
The 2005.
Let me see. How many years ago is that?
A lot, sir. 17.
Many years.
That's okay. That's okay. It was 102 for you and 88 for us, so it doesn't really matter. As long as you win one, it doesn't matter. But the thing that makes it sweet is that we beat the Houston Astros, another team I hate.
The Houston assholes. What? I'm sorry.
The 2005 White Sox won 99 games, lost 63, finished in first in the AL Central. Yes, they were in the AL Central at that point, and played the Houston assholes who were in the National League at that point before they started cheating. They won the AL Championship Series 4-1 over the Anaheim Angels. That was the only game they lost in the playoffs. That is the literally clean sweep of the Astros, of the Boston Red Sox, who had won the year before,
Right.
And then the Angels, who won years before that. So you were going through a gamut of teams that actually were really, really good. The Houston Astros were stacked at the same time as well, so they were no.
They weren't a pushover.
No, they weren't a pushover. Well, they had the Killer Bees on there.
Yeah.
BGO, Bagwell, and Berkman.
Yep.
Who else? They had Clemens. They had what's this? I was gonna say Julio Franco, but that's John Franco. Roy Oswalt.
Yeah.
Mike Lamb, who was good at that time.
I think Roy Oswalt before he went to Philly.
Yeah.
Yes.
You had Wandy Rodriguez, Willie Tavares, Jose Vizcaíno. There we go.
Yeah, but I mean, all right. I guess go ahead and keep talking about White Sox.
There we go.
I guess.
There we go. It's out of White Sox business. So you had a bunch of characters that just came together. Kenny Williams did a magnificent job of, you have Joe Creedy at third.
It's the first time you ever said that.
Yes, that is the first time, and it'll probably be the last time. Mark Burley, Jeff Blum. It's both Geoff Blum. Brian,
That's Jeff.
It's Jeff. Okay, sure, whatever. Jermaine Dye, who we had just signed him. We had Carl Everett, who was a piece of shit. Sweaty Freddie Garcia, who was always out drinking. Hitting the clubs.
Yes,
I know because I saw him out there. I was out there dancing with him. John Garland, Willie Harris, who is third base coach over there with the Cubs. Dustin Hermanson, Orlando Hernandez, Tarigitu Gucci.
Iguchi.
I got El Tanque, Bobby Jenks.
Yeah.
Oh
my God.
Yeah, the big and wide.
Hefty lefty.
The Mr. Consistent, Paul Konerko.
Yeah.
Brandon McCarthy, let's see, AJ Persinski, the man you love to hate, Scott Pasenik, who we traded Carlos Lee for to the Brewers.
Yep.
Gave away power to get a leadoff guy and a guy for defense. So kind of your Dexter Fowler for you. Yeah. And then Hall of Famer Frank Thomas.
Yeah, but he didn't play.
He had messed up his ankle so bad.
No, but I mean, yeah, you go up and down. This AJ, Paulie, Iguchi, Wanu Ribe, Joe Creedy, Scotty Pods, Aaron Rowan, Jermaine Dye, your MVP, and Carl Everett, your favorite player of all time. I mean, your favorite player, not mine. Yeah, and your boy Geoff. So look, you look up and down. I mean, there's not a ton of superstars on this team, right? Like you could sit there and look all day and you will find the one guy being Frank Thomas, right? AJ is known because he's in the media now and also because no one fucking liked him. But I mean, up and down, I mean, you're never gonna remember superstar Paul Konerko. No, I only remember him because he won the White Sox World Series, right? You don't remember a lot of these names, you know what I mean? And
he was clutch.
You got Jose Contreras was another guy, but I mean, other than that, I mean, there's not a lot of like real big, well-known names on this team before or after this World Series.
I mean, big names would be Orlando Hernandez that they acquired and El Duque that we got from the Yankees. Those are your big names. Yeah. Frank Thomas, obviously, because he's still a leftover from the 90s.
Right.
But Mark Burley wasn't a known commodity. You're looking at Joe Quiddy. He was like, oh, he's just a good defensive player. Right. That's it. John Garland came out. He exploded that year. Bobby Jenks wasn't even starting the season on the roster.
Garland, another former Cub.
Yep, he is a former Club. Again, we talked about Pazenik, but you're looking at Uribe. He was just one chubby kid who can hit the ball really hard and had a cannon from arm, but it couldn't throw straight. You're looking at the perfect storm with Ozzie Guillen, Harold Baines, Greg Walker, Don Cooper, Joey Cora, Tim Raines on the coaching staff.
Yeah, and that's really, to me,
those are the '93 Sox right there.
Right, exactly, and what you're looking at here, to me, the thing I think about the most is I think about, and I'm sorry to say it, but I'm thinking about the disappointing season for the White Sox this season, because you look at what a manager means.
Yeah.
Now, there's been a lot of talk, and the fact that he has gotten an interview. We talked to Junior about it, but I mean, there's a lot of talk now about Ozzie potentially getting that job. I've seen things where he's not that interested. I've seen things where he is and he's trying to play it off. I mean, there's a lot of different stuff there, but when you're looking at this, like you said, the perfect storm of coaches, because I mean, Ozzie's only 41 at that time, right? Harold Baines is 46, Joey Cora 40. You know what I mean? So you're talking about young guys. I mean, Don Cooper was younger at that time, being 49. You know what I mean? And now he's
104.
104. Yeah. He doubled his age in 17 years.
That's why he got fired. It's impressive. No, it was a perfect storm. And the team ran the gamut. They were never out of first place.
Yeah.
Then they go to the playoffs and run the gamut through there. You have the stories about Burley closing a game. He didn't even have his cleats on because he's like, "Oh, I'm not pitching today," and he's chugging beers.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Can you pitch?" He's like, "Yeah, the cleats. Sure, why not?"
Sure, why not?
I mean, I'm pretty sure MLB didn't find out till way later about this.
Yeah. Oh well. That's called the oh well. But if you go up and down the roster, there is one Hall of Famer on this team.
Yeah, Frank Thomas,
and that's it. And he didn't even play.
No, he couldn't play. He blew out his ankle. He had surgery and he couldn't play.
So when I was talking about him being an announcer, now the thing is that he's on TV right now.
Yeah, look at that.
He still looks like a giant infant. I just can't get over that. Like he looks like someone. It was like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, but reversed. Remember when they blew up the kid? Well, he was like 3. Nah, hell no. He was like 6 months with that big ass bald head, and he just just grew up into a giant infant, and he's just looked the same ever since. It's terrifying. Anyway, let's get to it. But yeah, look, perfect storm is the best way to look at it. This kind of reminds me of when the Pistons beat the Lakers, right? Because you don't have
Rasheed Wallace, I think Tayshaun Gibson,
yep. Chauncey. You know what I mean? Like you don't have superstars. Right, but you have a perfect storm. You have a collective. You found a way to get the pieces that you need to get yourself over the hump, get through. And the thing is that was the first time that they had been even in the playoffs in a while. And since then, they didn't make the playoffs. I think they made the playoffs 08, I think it was, because that was when the Cubs and the Sox were.
08 was after, yeah.
So 08. Well, of course, 08 was after 05.
No, the next time they were in the playoffs was 08. Yes.
Math. But yeah, so I mean, you hadn't seen them have a lot of success since then, and then you look at your 2020,
yeah.
You know what I mean? So it was everything, all the stars aligned that season, and they just managed to get it done.
Yeah, and again, you had a bunch of characters like Freddie Sweaty, like literally Sweaty Freddie. Yeah. Literally on a Sunday, you can see the just dripping sweat. And I'm like, dude, you can smell the black label. Just dripping on the mound. Yeah. And I'm like, they're like, oh. And it was so funny because I had season tickets, off and on. And when I would go see Freddie, I'm like, fuck, I just saw you outside like a couple hours ago. I can't believe you're actually pitching.
Oh yeah, you could probably just like squeeze that sweat into a bottle. He could just recycle all that booze. Oh my god.
Yeah. So I mean, I know we mentioned a little bit about right now with Ozzie Guillen. So I can't say who, but what I can say is that the manager, he's gonna get an interview this week.
Yep.
but how interested he is, it really depends on what his wife wants.
Yeah.
That's I'm hearing it from the source.
Shocking.
Yeah. So
yeah.
If he gets it, I think it'll be great. But from what we're hearing from Mike Rodriguez is that we're looking at Espada being named the new manager right after the World Series.
My only thing with Ozzy is that I don't. It's not that I think he would not do a good job. I think for the sake of the team being young, I think it's a good idea to have someone that has a fresh set of eyes, that is not hypercritical of the team, because you look at what he's said on air in the last couple of years. You can't tell me that these players.
Oh, Tim Anderson is still holding a grudge.
Right. How are they going to respect him? How are they going to sit there and be like, they're going to play in spite of him? If they win, they'll win in spite of him.
You know what you do. You show him your ring. Your rings.
And that,
his 3 rings.
And that's all well and good. But all that, to me, if a young player with, especially guys like Moncada, like TA, who have that big personality, have that big ass ego, they're going to be like, you're just showing off. You know what I mean? That's the problem. I think bringing in someone who's not connected to the organization, who has a fresh set of eyes and can come in there and just like lay down the law on day one, that's what they need. They need someone who can be disciplined and still communicate with them and get them where they need to go. TLR is not that guy.
No.
And I honestly don't think that Ozzy is that guy either, just because of it's essentially the same thing with Bob Brenly.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
It's the same thing.
Yeah. I think he can manage the team. I just think that the options that are out there are better.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. 100%.
I mean, Bruce Bochy got snatched up right away.
And again, another guy with World Series experience, World Series rings, but not connected to the organization.
Right.
That's the big thing there. Ladies and gentlemen, tell us, who is your favorite Chicago baseball playoff team? Hit us up. Again, you can find us on Facebook at True Chicago Fans. You can follow us on Twitter at True Chi Fans and on IG at True Chicago Sports Fans. Send us a message, send us a DM, and you can also email us at truechicagosportsfans@gmail.com. Tell us what you think. We'll be right back with Stirring the Pot after a word from our sponsor.
Hey, True Chicago sports fans, show off your Chicago pride with some fresh clothes from Grit Clothing Company. At Grit Clothing, they create that simple yet classic style that represents that Chicago Southside lifestyle. From t-shirts to hoodies, hats to glassware, they've got you covered. Grit has everything you need to represent your Chicago pride. So do it right now. Check out gritclothingco.com and use the promo code TrueFan15.
TrueFan15.
For 15% off your entire order. Let me say it again. That's gritclothingco.com and use the promo code TrueFan15 for 15% off of your entire order.
This is Enrique Calderon coming to you from True Chicago Sports Fan Podcast. Come check me out on social media, Enrique Calderon Official on Instagram and Facebook. Check us out.
Y te lo dice
Enrique Calderon.
Welcome back to the True Chicago Sports Fan Podcast with E-Rock and Big Z.
Yes, we're live.
That's right. It's that time again, brother.
Uh-oh.
You know what time it is.
Oh, boy.
It's time for Stirring the Pot. All right, brother. So there's a restaurant called Fry the Coop in my neighborhood.
Okay.
They have a couple around the Chicagoland area. And they came out with a couple sandwiches, some brand new ones. So I want to know, will you try these, sir? Sandwich number 1, the Chicago Hot Chicken Sandwich. So it's a breaded fried chicken breast, right? You got the bread. You got the brioche bun.
First of all,
brioche.
It's brioche. Second of all, it's 100% brioche. It has always been brioche. Dude, all you have to do is watch a fucking Wendy's commercial and they will tell you about their brioche and their pretzel buns, okay? So, second of all, here before we continue with the question.
Yes, sir.
How big is this breast?
Oh, they're big breast. You know me.
Yeah.
Gotta get a big breast. A juicy big breast.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So it's moving on. It's got hot jardinera, coupe sauce, and your brioche bun.
No.
That's a no?
I'll take the brioche and put something that tastes good on it. I don't understand. I was just having this conversation with like someone else, like about hot being a flavor or not.
No, well, we do that with the hot Cheetos.
No,
but
man.
Jardinera.
Let me explain something to you. Jardino. That's where I'm going. No, I don't fuck with Jardinera, man.
You don't fuck with Jardinera?
No, man. It's weird. It's greasy and it's like
It's
why
oily.
the fuck?
It's very oily.
Why the fuck is there a carrot or something? Like it's just odd. It's just weird. It's like why do I need celery? Why? How did y'all make celery hot? That shit tastes like water. How fucked up is that?
All right, then I'm going to go and I'm going to switch it over to something maybe you'll try. I don't know. All right, the donut fried chicken sandwich.
Oh,
Fried chicken, coupe sauce, pickles, and glazed donut.
okay. You want to talk about glazed donut? That shit will be glazing my face. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I'm trying that. Now, to be fair, like I feel like that donut would fall apart immediately, but I mean, you can't, that. I feel like that with a little bit of spice somewhere, like not jardinere.
I think the coupe sauce is a little spicy.
Okay, yeah, I would try.
All right.
You know what it almost reminds me of is you remember when going back to KFC just from my boy Steven. Remember what was it, the inside out sandwich where it was like two chicken things and like the bacon inside? That was the one thing from KFC was like, yep, I will grow a third titty for that thing because it was just that good. I was like, yeah, this is fat boy status confirmed.
All right, so I'm gonna try it this week and I'm gonna report back.
Just bring one. Bring one of the donut ones.
All right. Well, wait, no, you're out next week.
Oh, we'll figure it out. I don't even know. Honestly, I don't even know what my schedule is.
I'm just following what you told me.
Oh, I agree with you. I just don't. You think I remember things? What is it? Yeah. Okay.
I'm gonna try both of them, so it doesn't matter. So,
but I mean, like, if you have a preference, if I'm presenting you to that and you've never tried it, I mean,
I will try the Jardinera one.
If that would be your first choice.
That would be my first choice.
Oh man. Yeah, I don't know. It just sounds like yuck. Yeah. No, actually, I am out next weekend because we have round robin softball. Shocking. We have softball. All right, sir. Now that we've talked about donut sandwiches and that oily bullshit.
Third titties.
Hey, man. Total recall. You just totally recalled that third tit. Anyway, so speaking of that.
Oh, boy.
What you looking at? What have you been watching that isn't sports? Are you still watching the 70s show?
Yeah, I'm on season 8. It's the worst season ever.
Why? Is that with Seth Meyers? Josh Myers?
Josh Myers, Seth Meyers' little brother, big brother. I don't know what he is.
Like, hey, check out my feather.
He is so awkward in that show.
Yeah. He looks like Seth Meyers wearing a wig.
Yeah, it's really bad. Yeah, it's on usually on after work before I take my nap. My daily nap I try to take just because I'm so busy. What am I watching? Really, just my Chicago shows, the Grey's Anatomy, all that stuff is back on. I've been watching wrestling. Yes, I know. I watch network TV still.
What are you, like a 44-year-old divorcee?
I'm like 41.
Like what
Non-divorcee.
Like, I like Chicago PD because it's very realistic. They're so fake.
No.
So
I like it because they film in my neighborhood all the time.
Okay. It's like. Yeah, so you're basically Leonardo DiCaprio sitting on the couch like, oh, I know that place.
Exactly. That is me. That is me.
I parked my car there once. Oh my God.
Yeah, that's me.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah. So that's all you've been watching?
Oh yeah. I don't think I've watched. Really? No, I can't think of anything I've been watching. I mean, Game of Thrones finished tonight, so I watched that. That's been pretty good. Have you watched that one yet?
No. No, man. There's baseball playoffs on. NBA started. There's football literally every day. And then when I'm not doing that, I'm either working, like I've been doing all weekend, much to my wife's chagrin. She's like, when are you coming home? And I was like, oh no. And softball, man. That's literally all I do now.
I really haven't watched just because of all the sports. I agree. It's just, so next week I will have something watched. Because I didn't want to watch the Halloween movie. It looks stupid.
We did watch that. Kim watched it twice. I watched it half of one time. If you can guess what happened. Here's the thing. So we watched the Halloween, and the reason why I didn't finish because it was boring the shit out of me because I couldn't understand. They just kept showing this random kid and Jamie Lee Curtis's granddaughter or whatever.
Okay.
She was one of the characters, and she's like starting to fall for this kid who's kind of like a scumbag, and you see him have scumbag tendencies. Not like, oh, I'm a douchebag, like I fuck a lot of girls. More like, oh, I'm a murder stabby guy, like I like to stab.
Yeah, I like
That
to
guy,
kill
you know,
squirrels and shit like that.
Not even that, like unintentionally. Like it was weird, and I was like, why is this kid here? What is he doing? Why is it like an hour into the movie and I've seen Michael Myers once on the final Halloween? You guys are selling this as like the last ever Michael's gonna die. He's 30, you know, he was born in 1932 and now he's like 87 and he keeps this, like, I'm like, fuck, die. Michael, die, just die. And you know, and that was the thing. I watched the one before where like the whole like the island in the kitchen moved away.
Yeah.
The weapon. But I mean, like I had no excitement level to watch this whatsoever. My excitement level was that at some point I get to take a nap. That's when I take my naps. Is when I'm in a movie that I didn't want to watch.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't watch it. It just looked like
You can still watch. I mean, like, here's the thing. I think realistically, you should watch it so you know what I'm talking about, exactly what it is, so you can properly criticize it or not.
Okay.
The same reason why I watch White Sox games, so I can properly criticize them and not just talk out of my ass. But yeah, I mean, it was. I'm sure if I ever watch the second half, I will be just as disappointed as I was in the first half.
See, that's what I'm saying. There's no reason
But you
for that.
gotta know. You gotta know. If you don't know, you don't know.
Yeah, there's really Abbott Elementary's back on.
Yeah,
I
got
caught
it.
up.
Yeah,
5 episodes I've caught on.
First season I caught on. Is it Peacock or no? It's one of the
Peacock.
streamings. Is it?
No, wait,
Peacock?
no.
I think it's Hulu.
No, it's on Hulu. That one's on Hulu. Yeah.
So I watched the whole first season. I haven't caught up with the second season yet. But one show that tricked the shit out of me. So HBO is doing this thing now where they're taking network TV shows and putting them on their network, on their streaming. So the HBO Max that I'm sure is still Juan's account that I'm using for all this time. So it has this show called The Cleaning Lady, right?
Oh yeah.
So now that your excitement level of that is going to be tenfold once I explain to you what this is really what's really going on here.
I'm excited. If she can clean my kitchen,
So-
I'd be super excited.
The Cleaning Lady is a drama that centers Tani De La Rosa, formerly a Cambodian Filipino surgeon who is currently working and living in Las Vegas. Her reason for being in the U.S. on an expired visa is that her 5-year-old son, Luca, he has a rare life-threatening medical disorder in which he needs a cutting-edge bone marrow treatment, which is only available in Las Vegas. Until she gets treatment for her son, Tony makes a living not as a trained physician, but as a cleaning service worker along with her sister-in-law, Fiona. After Tony accidentally witnesses a serious crime and is discovered hiding by the perpetrator, Armand Morales, she is offered a job as a cleaner and a doctor within their criminal organization. So here's what happens, okay? Essentially, she is, like I said, she's a cleaning lady. She's cleaning at some fucking office. She witnesses a mob hit. They find her hiding there. They're going to kill her. And she goes, no. I'm really good at this. I can clean anything, this and that. They're like, all right, clean it. Cleans it like there was never a murder, you know, all this shit, right? And there was like blood everywhere. And the guy that died was someone that she knew from where she worked.
Right.
So, like, she cleans up all the blood, and they're like, okay, you did a great job. I'll tell you when we need you again. And she's like, no, I did this one time. They're like, we're going to fucking kill you. So, no, right? So now she's roped into it. So now this former, like, surgeon from Asia who's trying to save her 5-year-old son who has, like, bone marrow disease, cancer, like, whatever. And now has this moral dilemma of, like, well, I have to stay here. They're going to get me deported, and they're going to kill me and all this shit, right? So they managed to get this kid an appointment for the bone marrow doctor, all this other bullshit, right? And I'm watching this, and every time this kid, like, oh, this kid's gonna like live a great life, something happens, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? Does not feel like an HBO show. Like, that kid would have been dead in the first episode. Like, what's going on here? It's a Fox fucking show. I was like, you grimy motherfuckers, this is every Fox show ever where, like, random ass, where the hell is a Cambodian, Vietnamese, fucking Filipino surgeon / doctor that came to the United States that has to work as a cleaning lady but now also works for the mob because they got her an appointment for her son? This is the most Fox show of all time. This is essentially fucking Prison Break. Oh, they're almost gonna get out and survive, and oh no, they got locked up, and it's just the same fucking show.
Walking Dead.
Oh my! At least Walking Dead, like, people died. Like, this kid is never gonna die. They're gonna almost save him, and then he's gonna be dying again in the next episode. I was like, there's something weird about what's happening here, and then I figured it out press pause, Fox. And I was like, you sons of bitches, you almost got me.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that before I got here. Like, NFL football's on. Like, oh yeah, watch the next episode. I was like, this looks like a fucking horse shit. There's no way I'm watching it.
As I'm watching it, I'm just waiting for like the traditional HBO bad, terrible shit to happen, right? Hey, Red Wedding, here we go. But yeah, I was like, it totally fucking threw me. And you like Chicago Fire and PD, so you'd probably love this show.
No, I'm not gonna love that show
because it's 100% like the corny ass network TV drama.
So
100%.
Last episode for PD, Jimmy from Yellowstone was a guest actor on there.
Oh, right, he was a guest star.
So I think he's gonna have a small recurring role, because he's a commander's son, but he's doing some shady shit. So
okay,
so it's. PD is the one you want to watch because it has the best storyline because it's like Law and Order.
No, it's not. No, I don't want. I have no idea. So, and I did. So I did watch a movie this morning. It's called Kodachrome. It has Jason Sudeikis, and it has. Let me tell you the other actor here. Ed Harris, Jason Sudeikis, and Elizabeth Olsen. Really good
What's
movie.
That
that's a Netflix. It's a couple years old, but essentially it's Ed Harris is a very famous photographer, and Kodachrome is a type of film that Kodak made. They were getting ready because of all the digital media. They're no longer producing it, and it turns out that he's estranged from Jason Sudeikis, who is a music executive, and Elizabeth Olsen plays Ed Harris's nurse. And they have to go to this place in like Oklahoma or whatever the hell it is to get the last rolls of this film that he has developed. So he takes, and he's trying to rope his son into the journey to drive there because he can't fly because he's sick and he's dying and all this shit. So, yeah, I mean, it was actually, it was really, really well done. Jason Sudeikis as an actor is actually really, really good. And of course, you got Ed Harris, legendary Ed Harris. So it's definitely, that's definitely something to check out. It'll kind of tug at your heartstrings a little bit, but it does have a good story. I think it went to it was in these film festivals and all this stuff. So I mean, it's definitely something worth checking out.
Definitely give that a watch. I want to watch Black Adam. Do you want to watch Black Adam?
I'd watch the
White
Rock.
Adam.
I'd watch The Rock do anything.
Yeah.
He's just entertaining.
Yes.
It's just The Rock in different costumes. I mean, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So anyway, check those out, and that's it. That's all we got. How you feel? You good? You good?
A little rusty, as far as doing this for a while.
No, I mean, I feel like I'm ready. I'm ready to see what's going to happen with the Yankees tonight. I'm ready to see if the Steelers can actually win a game for once, even though they said pulled up Kenny Pickett. Yes, he can. So I mean, we'll see what happens.
What are the odds Mitch gets back in the game?
I mean, we'll see what happens. I mean, so from what I understand, the reason he was pulled the first place is because he had a issue with one of the receivers. So it is what it is. But anyway, that's all I got. I'm going to watch more baseball. I'm going to watch some football, and I'm not going to watch any of those Chicago shows because they suck. And that's it, man. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for listening. A big thank you to our sponsors, 606 Media, True Chicago Sports Fans, and Grit Clothing Company. Don't forget to go to gritclothingco.com and get your official TCSF podcast t-shirt. Search for keyword True Chicago and use our promo code TrueFan15 at checkout for 15% off of your entire order. That is TrueFan15. Go and get your shirts right now. A shout out to the newest show in the 606 lineup, No Water on the Weekend with Steven and Sean. It's a pop culture forward podcast that dabbles in funny trivia, film, television, music, and Chicago-centric news and happenings. New episodes are available on Mondays. And the Bulls are back. That's right, baby. NBA's back in action. 606 Media, True Chicago Sports Fans, and Shy Native Entertainment present All Net. Mike, Logic, and Ideal break down the Bulls games, and you can check them out after all the Bulls games for analysis and breakdown of the game and see if the Bulls are going to suck this year.
They're going to be like a 6 or 7 seed.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's predictable considering they didn't do much turnover in the. They got Dalen Terry. He's supposed to be good. We'll see. We'll see. All right, the Shy Native Radio Podcast is now available on all major platforms. Mike Logic, Ideal, and Throw MC talk about sports, movies, and all types of ill shit. Go and check them out right now. And don't forget to follow Shy Native Entertainment to see the next installation of Shy Native Nights, which is coming up on this Thursday, October 27th at Retro Cafe. That's 3246 North Central. From 9 to 1, $10 at the door. There is a Halloween costume contest and drink specials all night. You're going to have live performances by Ideal, Mike Logic, Joey Childs, Voorhees, Gold Girl, Chris Deshawn, Lyric, Jason Dell, Santee, Gene Ristic, and Z Jazz.
That's what I did too.
And of course, it's hosted by Mike Logic, and your sounds are by DJ Hunt. Go and check them out. Again on October 22nd for the Halloween costume contest. A shout out to Ronesh, Panic, Serious Beats, and custom made for the beats we played on today's show. Check out paniconthebeat.com for all your moment merch and gear. And check us out on social media. You can find us at True Shy Fans on Twitter and on TikTok. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, and reach out to us. Like I said, tell us who your favorite Chicago baseball playoff team is. You can hit us up at truechicagosportsfans@gmail.com. All right, y'all, for Big Z, this is E-Rock. We'll see you next time for episode 115. Until then, be good to each other.
The love of sports.
Swish.
A few moments later.
You have a lot of incest.
That's real.
Shut your mouth.
Lover boy.
Nature versus nurture, Lodge. Nature always wins.
I think he's on steroids.
Hasta luego, amigos.
Show's over, show's over, show's over.